Adequate notice of this meeting of the mayor and council was sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Coast Star, our official newspapers, and posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building. Take roll call. Councilwoman Donovan? Here. Councilwoman Kinney? Here. Mayor Buckafusco?
Here.
Councilwoman Rondanaro? Here. Councilman Levis?
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for those in our armed forces and our first responders and their families.
And a moment of silence for Belmar business owner Eric Hensch, who passed away this week. Eric was the owner of Atomic Vintage on Main Street. He had to close his store this year due to his health as he was battling cancer. Our thoughts are with his family, friends, and business, the Belmar business community, who have lost another member of their family.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, our first item is Resolution 2024-151, resolution of the council adjourning into executive session, whereas it has been determined by the Borough Council of the Borough of Belmar that it is necessary to discuss the following specific matter at its regular meeting in the absence of the public, pending or anticipated litigation regarding affordable housing and the attorney-client privilege communications related thereto. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act permits the Borough Council to exclude the public from that portion of a public meeting during which such matters are discussed. Now therefore be it resolved by the Borough Council as follows. The Borough Council shall forthwith recess into a private executive session from which the public shall be excluded to discuss the above referenced matters, that the scope of the aforesaid executive session shall be limited to the above matters as stated, that those matters discussed in executive session shall remain confidential until such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists as determined by the borough attorney, that minutes of the closed session shall be taken and kept free from public view until such time that the need for confidentiality no longer exists, and that the regular meeting of the Borough Council shall resume after the private executive session, at which time the Borough Council may take action in reference to the topics discussed. Can I have a motion to authorize the resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Buckafusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondanaro?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
So we're going to leave the room to go into executive session, and then we'll be back out in a little bit. She's going to do a quick presentation first.
All right.
We're going to start with our workshop discussion, the first time being a Silver Lake update by Councilwoman Belmar.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for waiting. I'm here to tell you about our very ambitious plan to restore and revitalize Silver Lake. I'm going to walk you through a lot of slides, not too many. You'll see some history, some data, and a lot of plans. But here's what I want you to remember, if nothing else. Silver Lake has terrible water quality and is in crisis. Our plan is to make it a beautiful, useful lake with a balanced ecosystem that everyone in Belmar can enjoy. This will not only make it a recreation spot, but will also increase property values and help with storm management and flood abatement. Let me tell you about it. All of our coastal lakes are in crisis. This includes Rock Pond, Sylvan Lake, Fletcher Lake, Deal Lake, and in fact, according to CLONET, which is run out of Monmouth University, the majority of the coastal lakes are now neglected and valued less for the natural resources they support and the recreational opportunities they offer. Instead, they're used as terminal receivers of road and overland runoff from storm sewers, algae-covered mud holes, and havens for Canada's geese. Sound familiar? It's a typical story. But let me take you a little back. Silver Lake was traditionally a brackish lake, which means it had salt because it was connected to the ocean. People could swim, row, or fish in it. It was also home to a lot of species that are not there anymore, like blue claws. And in other words, I cannot pronounce even though I checked with Google ahead of time. But then something happened. And then Sandy happened. And what happened with Sandy is that the ocean pipe that connected Silver Lake to the ocean was closed off or destroyed. And when that happened, we never restored that pipe. And because of that, two things happened. We lost a source of movement in the water, which means it became more stagnant. And it became completely cut off from any other water source, which makes Silver Lake actually unique amongst coastal lakes. If you look at the other lakes around us, whether it's Lake Como, Sylvan Lake, they all have tributaries that go into it. Even if you can't see them readily, they're there. Silver Lake is different because the only source of water it has besides rain are 18 outfall pipes. And those bring stormwater runoff into the lake along with anything else along the way. So, that water dumps directly into the lake, which is one of many reasons we have the numbers we do. And I'm going to tell you about those numbers. I mentioned before Monmouth University. CLONET is a group that we work with, and we have residents who've been collecting data on the north and south side of the lake throughout the year, 4 years. And here's what we found. Now these are actually last year's numbers, but we're about the same levels right now. This is our dissolved oxygen. As you can imagine, in a lake, low oxygen is bad for life. Where we want it to be is where I highlighted in yellow. Where we are is trending lower. That's SECI depth. That means how far into the lake can you see when you look straight down. That red line, it's a little ambiguous about where we want that number to be for a lake, but regardless, we're lower. And these are our algae numbers. Again, this is from last year, but we're about the same now. That red line is indicative of an algae bloom. We live above the red line. There are other indicators that we can see every day of signs that we don't have a beautiful lake. I mentioned the algae blooms. We have a lot of geese. We have Phragmites, which are, you see the picture up there. They're an invasive species. As they die, they fall into the lake. They create more sediment. And we also have that infrastructure problem where we have all of that water going straight into the lake with no type of filter. So even before we started to formalize our group, we knew any plan would need a living shoreline, which I'll tell you about. We knew we needed to treat that stormwater, and we needed a geese abatement plan. And incidentally, almost every other town has this in place and has had it in place. Belmar was an outlier here. So we formulated our steps forward. We decided we would consult experts, we would create a Silver Lake Committee, members of which are here, and we would work to secure funding. And I should stop right here and tell you that our plan is to hopefully fund as much as possible without taxpayer money. Here is the Silver Lake team's mission statement. The Belmar Environmental Commission has established the Silver Lake Subcommittee to provide a forum for focused community collaboration to protect and develop Belmar's natural resources at Silver Lake. As an extension of the BEC, the subcommittee's mission is to recommend policies and initiatives to better manage Silver Lake's water quality, health, and environmental appearance, and to restore, protect, and preserve the flora, fauna, and marine life in Silver Lake. The goals are to research and describe the lake's health issues and ecological imbalances, seek evidence-based recommendations from coastal lake experts to guide their actions, secure funding and resources for long-term solutions that address the root causes of the lake's health issues, and create a sustainable environment where aquatic plants, shoreline vegetation, fish, and wildlife can thrive for years to come. And here's some of our experts. I couldn't even fit them all on the slide. But we have the USDA, NJDP, Congress, Fish and Wildlife, Urban Coast Institute, Rutgers, the Army Corps of Engineers. We've also talked to the American Littoral Society. We've talked to private sector engineers. Our neighboring towns, Spring Lake, Avon, and of course, Belmar residents, who I would like to encourage time and time again to be involved in this process. We are seeking funding. We've already applied to over $3 million in grants from public and private sources, and the good news there is that we have already made it through the first stage in all of those grants. In those grants, we have asked for a camera study to restore the ocean pipe. We have asked for funding for bioswales, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, which are features designed to naturally filter stormwater runoff before it gets to the lake. This is actually a picture of them putting in this type of infrastructure in Avon. If you go down to Avon, you can take a look. It looks beautiful over there. And what this does is it filters that water before it gets to the lake so it's cleaner and you get less of that sediment and other debris going straight in. A living shoreline. This is them putting that same living shoreline in over on the Bradley side of Sylvan Lake. So what that does is it stabilizes your shoreline, it discourages geese, it improves the water quality, it encourages pollinators, songbirds, and marine life, and it is so beautiful. Like, go down to Avon, it looks great. There's also money in those requests for dredging and stocking of the lake, which would be done to rid the lake of nutrient-laden sediments and improve water retention. Again, that's stormwater planning, and then stocking for recreation and overall ecosystem improvement. In the immediate, we're also working on events and other projects. This is a picture from our Silver Lake cleanup where we picked up, 150 pounds of garbage around Silver Lake. We are planning for other ones. We are also looking into things like the borough itself has applied for a running trail to replace the current one that would mimic the one that's over in Lake Como. This type of terrain that we would use is more porous, so it would allow for, it'd be easier to clean up the goose poop, guys. Let's talk about geese. The Environmental Commission put together a plan, which has not been fully implemented. That plan included a living shoreline. What that does, besides look pretty, is it creates paths for people to get to the lake that geese don't want to navigate. Those lights and lasers that you see, which I know some of you have told me don't work, they have to work in conjunction with the whole plan. The idea with those is with a properly maintained shoreline and those lights bug the geese and they don't want to live here. But it has to be in conjunction with the whole plan. Egg outing. I actually went out to and addled eggs, I don't know, 4 times? This spring, we stopped about 50 eggs from hatching. We would have had an additional 50. That is a multi-step process. It has to be done every single year. And harassment. Right now, it's been recommended that we start up harassment of the geese again now that molting season is over on August 1st. It is our recommendation that along with the lasers, our plan includes dog or drone to harass them several times a day, and that is a critical component of any plan. I know there's been questions about the gazebo restoration. I will let our administrator take questions on that, but that is supposed to be wrapping up very, very soon. And we will have a beautiful gazebo again. So again, your takeaways. Why are we doing this? We want to protect the environment and create a better one. We want a recreational spot where you can actually maybe one day eat the fish that you get out of the lake. No? We will increase property values and we will help with flood abatement and lower the threat and severity of flooding. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Very enlightening and instructive and educational.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to our redevelopment review. We have our redevelopment attorneys here and our financial person from NW Financial. If you guys just want to introduce yourself, maybe, and everyone will know who you are, and then you can proceed. We will have a question and answer period after the presentation, and just like all the other comment sessions, we ask you to come up to the microphone, identify yourself, name and address, and then you can ask your questions or make your comments.
Thanks, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. Is it working?
My name is Joe Bauman. You've seen me here before. I think it's the 3rd or 4th time. I'm with McManaman, Scotland, Bauman, and we are redevelopment and land use and real estate and affordable housing lawyers. To my left is my partner, Francine McManaman, and across the way is my partner, Leslie London. We're joined by Dan Banker, who is with NW Financial. Dan has been providing us with the financial advice we need as we worked our way through the negotiations with the 4 developers, the 4 interveners, in connection with satisfying the borough's affordable housing obligations. So I think we're going to start by reminding everybody, how we got here and why we're here today with this next step in the process. We've done some of this in the past, but it's helpful to continue to reorientate ourselves to why we're making these decisions now. In December of 2022, as of that date, the borough was not compliant in its affordable housing obligation, meaning it had not taken the steps necessary that had been undertaken by many, many hundreds of municipalities throughout New Jersey to begin to meet its state constitutional obligation to provide its fair share of affordable housing. At that time, we had an obligation of 204 new construction units based upon the Jacobson decision. That decision allocated an obligation to each municipality. Belmar's was 204. By that point, there have been 6 projects with a total of about 170 units that were built during the period of 2011 to 2023. There were 12 affordable housing units that coming out of those 170 units, not the 15% or so we would have hoped for. If there had been, we would have picked up, there should have been like another 26 units. The 12, I think, as we've reported to you in the past, that when we went to try and count those with the affordable with the fair share housing in the court, we determined that they were not entirely compliant with the current rules. I will tell you that we've been engaged with that property owner and their lawyer for about 2 weeks, and they're working very closely with us to rectify that situation. So I feel really positive about that property owner and those 12 units. As a result of that, Fair Share has allowed us to count those 12 units. We have some work to do with them, But again, that process, which has only been undertaken for about 2 or 3 weeks, we put them in default and then they immediately responded. And again, they've been really good partners about trying to figure this out, so I'm positive that that's going to become a good result when we're all said and done. I have a meeting with them again tomorrow, so the property owner and their attorney has been really cooperative to resolve this. Fair Share has told us we can count those 12 units, so it's a problem that's being resolved. So and again, we missed an opportunity at least to create another 14 over that period of time. And as a result, we found ourselves exposed to 2 possible lawsuits. One is a builder's remedy lawsuit. You hear about them all the time. They're sort of picking up steam as we get to the end of this round. My partner, Leslie London, was just describing to me, we just got hired in Palisades Park. They've experienced 5 or 6 builder's remedies since January of this year. So the builder's remedy lawsuits were coming to Belmar. That was without a doubt. And then if they weren't, the Fair Share Housing, we were now on their radar and they would have been filing lawsuits as well. So recognizing that the choice was to put ourselves in a situation where we have a builder's remedy lawsuit, and up here we sort of list for you all the bad things that happen in a builder's remedy lawsuit. But by and large, you lose all control over your zoning. So the municipality, if you're out of compliance and there's a builder's remedy lawsuit, the municipality, the planning, and the zoning boards lose control over the zoning. That gets decided by a court at that point. The developer, in those cases, would have to commit to 20% affordable housing units, which means their projects would have to be bigger. You'll see as we go through it that we have projects that are going to be less than 20%, which have been approved by Fair Share. But in that case, you'd have to hit the 20%, which again means more market rate units, because as we discussed, the market rate units offset the cost of the affordable housing units, generally a 4-to-1. And then the other thing, turn to the next slide, that I think is important to, if you don't believe us, believe what was being told to the municipality in 2019 when the attorney warned them that the borough was willfully deficient in its affordable housing obligation. I am disturbed that the borough is lacking in this regard, and I'm worried about possible litigation in the future and a builder's remedy lawsuit, which would leave the borough in great jeopardy. So there was no doubt, at least in 2019, that the borough was exposed when we began. And there's been a lot of, we try to pay attention to the Facebook and the chatter that's going on, and there is no doubt that we would have been facing a builder's remedy lawsuit, Fair Share Housing lawsuit. And that would, there's no doubt that would have been a worse situation than we're about to describe to you here today. Go to the next one. Oh, okay, so just, for way of context, other municipalities that are dealing with this, so even Brielle, just in June of 24, is now facing a builder's remedy lawsuit. All those other towns, and you see that those are samples that have faced builder's remedy lawsuits. There's also, again, Fair Share Housing filing lawsuits to impose and make sure every municipality meets its affordable housing constitutional obligation. So what do we find ourselves in 2022 when we got started? Well, at that time, there were 4 redevelopment projects in discussion. There was one with Mark Bill. That's in the northern part of town, right next to the bridge. We'll show you later. It's Sackman, right on Main Street. Repetti, over by the highway, and 613 10th Avenue. Those are 4 projects that were in discussion, in active discussion with the prior professionals as in terms of building projects in Belmar. In at least a couple of those cases, when we explained to them that we were not prepared to allow the size and scope of those projects, they reminded us that they had builders remedy alternatives. So it was a bit of a race to the courthouse, frankly, to put ourselves into an offensive position as opposed to a defensive position. So we pursued the declaratory judgment action. So what we knew when we did that was we were going to get interveners. So we filed our declaratory judgment action. Now we're on the offense, and then now it's up to those possible interveners to decide to intervene. They all did it. We expected it. No surprise. Through that process, we also began a discussion with the Fair Share Housing on what should be how many units, there was a 204 number we don't think we have enough space in Belmar to build that. We undertake what's called a vacant land adjustment. You don't have enough vacant land, your numbers should go down. And that began a negotiation, which has resulted in 96 as our realistic development potential. So fair share in negotiations with us has included that of our 204, we could realistically develop 96. So even at that level, we felt we made some significant progress. We cut that number in half. So now we're at this 96 number. We also got a temporary immunity from the builders attorney lawsuits that we feared were coming, we knew were coming. We set this 96 number bar that we have to meet. And then we determined, for reasons that I think will become apparent through this conversation, that we should negotiate with everybody all at once. We didn't want to negotiate with one individual developer and have that become the floor upon which that every next developer thought they could build it. So you'll see through this process that every transaction is a little bit different, and they're a little bit different for different reasons. Again, there's approximately 350 municipalities in New Jersey that have settled fair share housing. So we are not in the minority. At this point, we're now in the majority. Neighboring towns, Spring Lake filed a DJ action, entered into a settlement. Seagirt filed a DJ action, entered into a settlement. Bradley Beach, I'm told, filed a DJ action, is now, were unable to come to an agreement, and they've pulled out of the DJ action. I don't know that for a fact, I've been told that anecdotally. So they're putting themselves back in the jeopardy, apparently. And I gather it's because the governing body and the administration couldn't come to a consensus, which, working closely with this group of public servants, we've been able to come to a consensus. So how is Belmar going to meet its obligation? This is where the rubber meets the road. How are we going to meet the 96 credits? We actually achieved 99, so we're going to come out of this round 3 ahead of the game. And we did it by negotiating with Markville, Sacman, Rapetti, and 6th Street, 10th Avenue, the 4 interveners. During the process, the 5th intervener attempted to intervene, and we did a motion to the court, and we successfully repelled them. So we did not have to deal with the 7th Avenue Associates in an intervention. So we did manage to prevent a 5th intervener. We will likely have to deal with them someday, somehow. For the moment, they're not part of the settlement. That was a big victory, by the way. The judges generally they generally like to have everybody into the lawsuit. We were very pleased to be able to limit it to the 4 initial interveners. Markville. So the Markville project in 2021, as they were proposing when we first arrived, was 131 units, 0 affordable housing. The building was going to be 6 stories, roughly 70 feet, with a connectable walkway over River Road. It had a 50 feet height cap within 30 feet of Main Street, so it was steered back. So it was 50, then to 70, and then it was a second building with a walkway over River Road. The final project that we're proposing to settle on with them is 139 units. It does have more units, but it now has 24 affordable housing units. So 17% of the affordable, not the 20% that would happen if we ended up with a builder's remedy lawsuit. So less units, therefore less stories. Importantly, Markville is a condo project. The affordable housing units are going to be rental. It's a combination of condominiums and affordable housing units. We walk through the fiscal impact, you're going to see how that's pretty meaningful. So this is going to be market rate condominiums and then affordable apartments, all in the existing building. But again, what we managed to achieve here was a substantial decrease in height, an 8-unit increase in exchange for 24 affordable units. This is a rendering of what it would look like. Now, the question is often asked, what's going to be the role of the planning board when we get through this process? The planning board is going to have to play the same role as it does if any one of you were to make an addition on your house or otherwise go before them for something that you have a right to do. They'll be able to review the application in the same manner. We expect all these projects will go through a certain amount of design, the design committee, and all the effort to make the facade as attractive as we can for Belmar. So this, as you can see, is from the bridge looking south, and then we have another rendering from the bridge looking north. Parking underneath, residential above, some retail on Main Street. Fiscal impact. What does this mean to the pocketbooks of the people in this room? The current annual tax revenue for this piece of property is $40,752 to the Board of Ed in the school district. We're not counting the county. We don't really care about that for the moment. So we currently generate about $40,000 in labels. When this is done, the annual tax revenue to the borough and the school district will be $809,000. So it'll go from a $40,000 rateable to an $800,000 rateable. As a part of our analysis, as I think I mentioned in prior meetings, we attempt to figure out what will be the fiscal impact. So we know we're getting more ratables. What's it going to cost? The cost is primarily school children, and then the cost maybe for services. And NW Financial has a decade-long or more expertise in this area. They rely on a number of published reports from Rutgers and other places, and they also rely on their own data bank of information to determine how many school children will come out of the building, and what will be the impact on the municipal services. Using that analysis, and by the way, all of these, for PowerPoint presentation, we've summarized it, but there will be online tomorrow morning 3 reports, one for each of the projects, that you can look into the details of how these numbers are arrived. So the estimated net benefit, so we get revenues of $809,000. We have a cost of $419,000 of ratables that will go to the benefit of the budget, which in order to the benefit of everybody living in town. That's $419,000 that we don't otherwise have to raise from the taxpayers who live here today. The project's benefit then, redevelopment vacant and underutilized property, support for local businesses. There is no doubt that more people living in the downtown, walking in the downtown was absolutely a plus for the business, the retail, the restaurants in downtown. We get 24 units towards our 96 affordable housing obligation. So we make a big dent in that number. The Rapetti Russo development. This one went through a number of iterations that I'm going to walk you through. By the way, this is also going to be online. I see people trying to take pictures. But the unit count when we arrived was 250 units. There were, again, no affordable housing units in that project. It was 5 stories, 4 stories on 10th and 8th, and it had about 5,400 of retail. When they intervened, they took the position that they would have taken if it was a builder's remedy, but they came in with the biggest project they could think of. They proposed 444 units. That was their first proposal back to us. 15% of which were affordable housing, so 67 units. So fair share, as you might have guessed, like this. A lot of affordable housing units, 67. Very attractive to fair share, not attractive to Belmar. It was 21 stories in 2 buildings. It was sort of absurd. Right? Never going to happen, but that's where they set the bar for our negotiations. As of October of 23, they were back to 234 units with 5 stories, same height, and less retail. We told them that was not acceptable. We were holding the line at a lower building. What we're proposing in the settlement agreement today to everybody is 198 units. So we took a substantial cut in the number of units with a 10% affordable housing unit, so we only get the 20. But in this case, we're getting a $2 million contribution to our affordable housing trust fund. That's important because it will allow us to do much smaller projects in order to renovate property, or in the future, maybe there'll be an opportunity to help with the housing authority. So that $2 million is going to begin to really put us in a position where we have a lot of real money in our affordable housing trust fund that we can use on other opportunities throughout Belmar. Importantly, we dropped it down to 4 stories. We thought that was a huge win. So we reduced it by 52 units, 1 story, added 20 affordable units, and a $2 million payment into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Again, what would have been their builder's remedy stance would have been 441 units, which, again, Fair Share Housing really liked that opportunity, because they're just about how many affordable housing units. That was 67. We ended up at 20. So these negotiations are multi-tier. There's a special master, there's a judge, and there's the intervener, and then there's us. And our job is to, and in many ways, the Fair Share and the developer are aligned in having a bigger project to get more affordable housing. So it's, at some level, us against both entities. The judge, in this case, was very agreeable and worked with us, with the caveat that the reason we're having this conversation tonight is she only had a certain amount of patience with us to get to this result today, which is why we're presenting it today. Here's the building from the highway. Again, there's going to be a lot of opportunity to work on the facades and otherwise. The parking is under the pool and under the first level. All right. So what are we summarizing the financial terms? $2 million contribution to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and 20 affordable units. In this case, we had to negotiate for a payment in lieu of taxes. We've spoken about those before. This is where the entity will make a payment, 95% of which will go to the borough, only 5% will go to the county. The county, I think, gets about 20% normally, so we get a substantial amount of the money that would otherwise go to the county. And we've had an ongoing dialogue with the Board of Ed. I got to tell you, the superintendent and the business administrator have been phenomenal partners in our conversations about what would be the number of school children, how can we make sure that the Board of Education is going to be taken care of through this process. And we've been able to demonstrate to them that between their share of the condominium rateable and 30% of the pilot, they should be made whole in terms of supporting any new school children that are coming to the school. So again, we anticipate at our next meeting, we will have on the agenda a resolution approving an agreement with the Board of Education to share the rate, 30% of the annual service charge from the two projects that have it, with the Board of Education in order to make sure that any new school children that come out of these projects, and I understand we do need school children in the Board of Ed, that the Board of Ed will be made whole in terms of those expenses. And I'll say it one more time because I can't estimate it, underscore it enough. The superintendent and the business administrator were really phenomenal partners in this process. Here's the fiscal impact then on this project. So the current annual tax revenues to the Board of Ed and School District are about $92,000. The estimated pilot revenue to the Borough and School District will be $480,000. The estimated cost is about $379,000, so there's about $109,000 net positive number to the municipality. It's again, we get 20 units, $2 million, 20 going towards our 96 unit count. This assumes that 30% of the pilot will be shared with the Board of Education, which we intend to do at our next meeting. The last project, Sackman. This one caused us a lot of angst as well because of this location, right? It's on the eastern side of Main Street, so it is closest to the residences. So we had it was one of the last ones we were able to bring into the finish line. They originally proposed 45 units. We have more units now, entirely related to the need to put affordable housing units in it. They had none before, now we have 10. Their original building was slightly smaller, 51.5 feet roughly. We're now at 54, so we're slightly higher than the original one. And there's a 4-story instead of a half a story. So in this case, we increased it by 11 units. We got 10 affordable housing, and we had to give up 3 feet. This is what this one kind of looks like. Here, and I described to you before how each project was different. In this case, they're paying a 10% annual pilot as opposed to the 6.7%. So the Repetti is getting about 67% compared to their 100%, right? So they're paying a much higher percentage of their revenues as a pilot, again, which we intend to share with the Board of Education at 30%. current taxes on that project is $14,326 to the Board of Ed and the school district. The new plow will be about $190,000. Net annual cost about $159,000 for a $30,000 net fiscal positive on the project. It gets us 10 more units to our 96. If you add up all those three numbers, you're not going to get to 96. You're not going to get to 10 to 12 because there are other units throughout the town that we were able to get credit for. So at the end of the day, we get to 99. We're 300. We have 3 units in the bank for the next round. The smallest project, this didn't change significantly, except for the fact that of the 12 units, 2 of them are now affordable. It had none before. And because their actual 20% is 2.4, they're going to pay $60,000 into our affordable housing trust fund with the $2 million. Size is basically the same. The dreaded ATM is gone. This is what this one looks like. So, what the governing body is being asked to do tonight is to consider 4 resolutions, 1 settlement for each of the agreements. As we've explained to them in our meeting, this is just the beginning of many, many votes, both at the level of the municipality and at the planning board, because we're going to have a lot of things to do. We're going to have a housing element and fair share plan, which was almost completed. At the next meeting, because we need these agreements first, we're going to approve our settlement agreement with fair share housing. There are some amendments to our redevelopment plans. We have to approve the financial agreements, and then ultimately all of these will have to go to the site plan approval, and they'll go through the normal process for any other project going through a site plan approval. When we're all said and done, we will have met our RDP number and exceeded it. As you see there, we will have more ratables than we have expenses, so there will be a net positive fiscal impact to the municipality and school district. We will be immune from builder's remedies as we enter into the future. Importantly, too, there is no doubt that compliant municipalities are thought of differently than non-compliant. This judge, we showed up, we didn't have the white hat when we began this process. Now we will. And so whatever we have to deal with going into the future, we will demonstrate that Belmar is prepared to step up to the plate and meet its state constitutional obligation to provide affordable housing as we prepare for what may come in the future. This group of individuals in this governing body could have what I describe as taken the easy road. The easy road is let the builders' remedies come and blame it on the court. Right? That's the easy road. Because it's not me. I didn't vote for it. I didn't have it. The judge did it to me. Well, you would have ended up with bigger projects, a much more significant fiscal impact, many more affordable housing units, because they'd be at 20%. So this is a difficult decision that this group of people have made, because these are also, I know because I followed, they didn't necessarily run on development. Right? This group of individuals ran on trying to get a handle, and then they discovered they had this challenge and this issue. So it's easy to punt it to the courts and let a judge tell you and just have someone to blame for the worst result. The hard part is to take the votes that we're going to be considering to take tonight, know in your heart that you're creating a much better situation than Belmar would otherwise have, but then have to defend it, which they will have to do over multiple votes over the next 3 to 4 months, because we will be voting on all these things along the way. So with that, Leslie's here. She's more of our expert in the affordable housing. Francie, my partner, does a lot of the development, and Dan is also available if you want to delve into the numbers. But again, there will be reports. We're going to get them on tomorrow, and so you'll be able to really dig into how do you calculate the student. How many students do you figure it out? What's the per student cost you're assuming? What's the per resident number you can assume for the fiscal impact? What are the profits? What are the rate of returns on these developers? What is their debt coverage ratios? Are they medium? How do they compare to the market and their projects? Because all of these numbers were both a math exercise and a planning exercise. The goal to, the developers and the court wanted to make sure the projects happen, so we thought about what we thought was gonna be a fair rate of return, for example. We thought about, do we think that they're overestimating the construction costs or their operating expenses? Do we think that they're looking for more profit than they're entitled to? And then we thought about height, units, number of affordable housing units, and came up with this, again, global solution, which if done individually through builders' remedies would have been 20% of everything that they built and much bigger buildings without a doubt.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to open it up for public comment and questions, just like we do at the end of the meeting. So if anyone would like to make a comment or question, just please come up to the microphone, state your name and your address, and we'll try to respond to any questions.
Barry Lubin, 15th Ave. I want to thank you and you, everyone, for going forward with this. I have been reading immensely, and I want to say to Milburn that their council had a plan, reneged on the plan, and now they're getting shoved down their throat a huge, several buildings right on their downtown. So I know there's a lot of naysayers in this room, but from what I've read my whole life since I lived in New Jersey about Mount Laurel, this is the right thing to do. This is limiting. This is keeping us not having another 10-story building. This is keeping us, the revenues. It's keeping us in the plus. I think you said somewhere in there that our elementary school is underutilized, as everybody up and down the coast is. The baby boom, baby bump is over, and now the schools are going down. So now we'll have a few more kids, but they'll be paid for by the ratables of those buildings. So I just want to thank everyone for all the hard work they've been doing, because even though I don't want that much, it's called moderation. It's keeping it moderate, and that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I am Bobby Henniger, 512 9th Avenue. I would like to know how many of the 400-plus units that we're talking about have breakdowns of 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, or possibly 3-bedroom?
I think we have that information.
So I can tell you that
the market rates are primarily 1 and 2. And the 3 bedrooms are required by the affordable housing. So the way the affordable housing UHAC roads were called, UHAC, they dictate both the income and their unit count and bedroom count. So you're required to have 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. Those are going to come out of the affordable units, and those are going to also going to have us be low and moderate income units. So it's going to be 3 different categories of affordability. Those are also the units, as you'll see from the numbers, that produce most of the school children, as you would imagine, the three units. So most of the school children that were coming out of those units are going to be from the affordable housing. But we can give you, get you all the breakdown. Yeah. So when we're going to publish the NW, they have the unit counts for both the affordable and the market rate for all the projects.
Okay, and are you saying though that the affordable housing units all are 3-bedroom units?
No, 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
But there's a breakdown. Leslie, is it 50%?
Right, by statute, it's very specific how many have to be 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 1-bedroom. Usually, no, 1-bedroom. But there is a minimum number that each developer has to meet, and that's per regulation and fair share. That's one of the reasons.
Okay.
So my last point is that the goal is to have affordable housing for families too. That's a big priority for, not just for single people.
Okay, my next question is, do all these projects comply with Belmar's parking ordinances, which are based on bedroom, like the number of bedrooms in a unit?
Yeah, these are all below the RSIS number, but above the Rutgers white paper. So that, what that means is 1.98 is the RSIS average, I think. Oh, and the Rutgers is like 1.4, I think.
So,
Yeah.
what is?
So it complies with the white paper, but
not.
it does not.
It does
Comply
not.
with, does not comply with the RSIS, but does comply with the white paper.
Okay, have there been any parking studies done to see how this would impact Belmar?
The only parking studies has been the participation of our planner, who has expertise in this area, and unfortunately couldn't be here with us today. So we did get advice from a planner.
So will that be released as well on the website tomorrow?
There's no actual report, but we relied on our expertise, but those are the numbers.
Should there be a report?
So the challenge is to get this.
I believe there should be something that we can see to see what, how this is
Well,
going to.
we'll definitely publish the Rutgers white paper, which will show you the numbers.
Okay.
And also during negotiations with Fair Share and the court adjudicator, formerly court master, those are the things that they look for, and they will allow a lesser number because it's affordable, inclusionary developments. So we have to abide by what Fair Share agrees to, and they have a planner, we have our planner, and those numbers wind up being negotiated. And these are exceptions, keep in mind. These projects that are being approved as part of the settlement are exceptions. Any other development that comes afterward would abide by the ordinances.
Okay, here's my next question. I keep hearing about in the report that it is a net positive for the school. What about infrastructure? I'm not hearing that there's been anything that the developers have contributed to infrastructure. In fact, I'm wondering if there have been any infrastructure studies. We're all going to be dealing with this after the fact, so I don't know that I feel satisfied that there's been any report that I've heard of that will tell us what the impact will be on our small town.
Yeah, so one of the things that's never comfortable for municipalities, Fair Share, and the courts have concluded that the impact on your infrastructure is not a factor in meeting your obligation. Their view is, because many municipalities have tried that, right? We can't fit them in our schools, we don't have enough sewer. And so the courts have concluded that those are not factors to be considered in meeting your obligation. Now, having said that, we did vet the water, whether or not we have sufficient capacity, water and sewer, because Fair Share cared about that because they want to make sure it gets built. So we believe we do have sufficient capacity for water and sewer.
Have there been negotiations with developers to have them contribute something to infrastructure?
That's my point. That's not part of the permitted negotiations. We can't tell them we got a deal, except you got to give us $2 million to upgrade the sewer system.
That's a shame. That's really unfortunate.
Yeah, but again, the view of the courts and the Fair Share is that infrastructure is a municipal-wide obligation, and it can't be used as a way to prevent you from building affordable housing.
I understand that. It's just with our hands tied. So it's, and without studies, I think that, we deserve to, see some type of studies that tell us how we're going to be living with this.
I mean, we know that there's enough water and sewer services to service these units.
All right.
Hi, Peter Began, 703 North Lake Drive. First of all, I think you did a great job, and I think planning is the right solution. But I do have a question I don't fully understand, and the payment in lieu decisions, one was 10%, one was 6+%. If you would go into that a little bit more,
Sure.
given the fact that they're 30 years, I believe, and just explain that to us, how we can be assured that we're getting the proper payment from these developers.
Yes, I'm going to give you a high-level summary of the NW, and then Dan will give some more color. So what Dan does is he begins by figuring out, as we negotiate to constantly move the target, how many units are gonna be in the project, and what the rents are gonna be. He does it by affordable, non-affordable bedroom count, square footage, and he comes up with a revenue number. He also then vets the sources and uses for the construction of the projects, makes certain assumptions about debt and equity, or makes certain assumptions about construction costs. That gives him their pro forma, so he builds their pro forma, and through the way, by the way, they provide us with pro formas too, which we debate about and debate stuff. So that gives us, so we begin to rebuild their financial model, again, with some information from us and then using our own numbers. And we use those sources and uses and their debt and equity to figure out what their internal rate of return is, their yield on capital, what their debt service coverage ratios will be, to figure out whether they'll get financing or not. That's sort of the goal here, is to figure out whether they're going to return will be market, and whether someone will undertake this transaction or not. Lenders and equity. We put all that into the mix and we come up with a number, and then we fight about in these two cases, we concluded that they would need to have some relief on taxes. Now, Belmar has extraordinarily low taxes. I don't know if everyone knows that, but in a typical town, when you do 10% of annual gross revenues, that would be about 60% of your taxes or less.
Even less than that.
Yeah, so in a typical town where they're paying 10% of annual gross revenues like here, that would be comparative to full taxes to about 60% or less of your full taxes. In Belmar, it's like 90%. So when they get a 10% annual gross revenues, they're actually paying like 90% of what they would otherwise pay post full taxes. We do all that math, and so the 10% means that for every dollar they receive, every dollar, they rent out a parking spot, they get a pet fee, all those dollars get added up, and then we get 10%. We share 5% of our number. We share with the county, 95% we keep. So in this case, in the 10% number, I think we're actually getting more in this Valley School District in the annual service charge than we would get if we were just doing full taxes. I think that's how it proved out. Right?
That's correct.
Right. So imagine that, because if we done full taxes and the county gets a much bigger chunk, in this case, they're only getting 5%. So 90% of our 100% taxes, I'm confusing my percentage, but we're going to get more than we've got for full taxes for the 10%. 6.7, it's going to be less than we would otherwise get. So every year they add up all the revenues, and they write us a check for 10% of that, and they give us an audit of those numbers. And we look at the audit, and you may have seen, like there's a couple of financial agreements now that they've been lacking the audits, we're chasing those down. The purpose of the audit is to make sure that we're getting 10% of every dollars. The beauty of the annual gross revenues, there's no gains to be played. You can't artificially create expenses, right? You can't come up with other ways. It's every dollar in, 10% comes to us. And so that number, that discount, is also plugged into the financial model to figure out whether or not they're getting the fair rate of return. So, by way of example, in the so in the Repetti model, Dan's estimate, their IRR is about 13.8%. Their yield on cost that's a 10-year sale. Year two, yield on cost is about 6.8%, and they have debt service coverage ratio of about 1.26. Banks generally require 1.2, or it's higher. So that's the math that goes into the analysis. And as you can imagine, if you change the unit count, or we knock off a floor and they lose 50 units, the math has to get redone. So there was an iterative process, again, getting the benefit of their numbers, and then NW putting their expertise and knowledge on top of it. That's how the negotiation. And the 6.7%, the numbers just demonstrated to us that they would need a deeper discount on the taxes to make the numbers work.
Any other questions, comments?
Laura Ravano, 204 13th Avenue. Regarding having an escrow account, are these developers going to be responsible for opening an escrow account with Borough to cover the costs for the engineers looking over all of their documents and everything the way a regular person building in this town does?
Yeah, so for the normal escrow for the money board,
Mm-hmm.
that one they have to post.
They have to post.
In
it.
the redevelopment, that's right, they have to post it, I think they do. I have to double check, I'm 90% sure. But in the redevelopment context, sometimes you also have them post an escrow for the negotiation of these agreements. That we're not allowed to require them to do.
So who's paying for that?
The borough is. Same way you would have paid for those, to defend those builders or any lawsuits, or that you're paying for our time now. That's borough expense.
Okay, and then also the trust fund. I see that one of the builders is gonna be putting $2 million into the trust fund. I'm hearing that people in town who are renovating their homes, knocking homes down, are getting bills to put money towards that trust fund as well. When did that start? Is that gonna continue once these?
Yeah, it is. It's, that ordinance is in place, and it's gonna continue, and it's designed to continue to have money going into the affordable trust fund. I
Do
don't,
people know this before they do build their, like rebuild their house, or are they just?
well, it depends
getting this?
on, I know, what, like, if you're knocking down your house and build a new one, yeah, you gotta pay, and shame on you.
But that
yeah.
never was before, so what I'm asking is, when did this start, and do people know
No,
that this
I
is
shouldn't.
happening?
Yeah, this is a development fee ordinance that's required by statute. When you do certain building, you're required to post a certain amount. It's usually when you do knocking down your house and.
Right, but I've knocked down houses in town, and that's never been the case, so I'm just asking, when did that start?
August last year.
Yeah, the statute has been around for a while, and I believe the borough, I don't recall when the borough actually adopted its ordinance.
I think it was August
Yeah.
of 2023.
Okay. Now, the use of those funds, however, that go into the trust fund, those can't be used until you have a spending plan. And the spending plan has to be approved by the court. So part of this whole process that we're working on includes the development of a spending plan, and the borough controls the spending plan. By statute, there's various things that you can use for it. You can offset some administrative costs to cover the attorneys or planners, things of that sort, and that's at a limit. It can also be used for rehabilitation programs. For, if certain people who qualify, you can provide a program where if they qualify to give them money to rehab their homes. And there's another laundry list of things that can be done with that money. But it has to be approved by the court.
But does someone who's going to redevelop their house, do they know that, because I have a friend right now who's knocked her house down, she knows nothing about this, so is she gonna be getting a bill in the mail from the town to put money into this trust fund that she knows nothing about right now?
I mean, I would.
Yeah, so when you submit your construction permit to build your new house, there's a separate form that you have to fill out. It's a development application, and then that gets reviewed by the tax assessor at the same time as your permits are being reviewed, and you get notified, once the reviews are done, what your affordable housing fee is and then what your permit fees are. So they get the form when they fill out the paperwork.
Can I ask a question? Was that not for this ordinance, the for fee ordinance, didn't that start several years ago and it just wasn't implemented?
That's correct. That's correct, Councilwoman. There was a prior development fee ordinance, that's what the ordinance is called, the development fee ordinance, and there was a prior development fee ordinance that was on the books, but it was not effective until it was properly filed and approved, and it was never approved by the court, so that's why the fees weren't collected under it.
Okay, anyone else?
Yes, hi, Katrina Klapsis, B Street. I have a couple of questions. When all of this is said and done, the costs to the borough are going to be increased immensely, I would imagine. Infrastructure is going to cost us a ton of money, because I remember when the Repettis were looking to build this building last time, one of the main complaints about everybody in town when they complained about the size and of this building was, A, where is everybody gonna park? B, where is all this infrastructure? Who's gonna pay for this infrastructure? And so now we're learning that we are, the taxpayers are gonna pay for this infrastructure.
I'm not really sure what infrastructure you're talking about.
Well, water, sewer, all
So
these
we
lines.
already know that the water and sewer system are sufficient to service them.
We do have quite a lot of problems, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark's one of the people that would attest to this. We have a tremendous problem in the town of Belmar with our water and sewer infrastructure,
It's
so.
Independent of these projects, you do.
Independent of these projects,
Right.
which is now going to increase the magnitude of our problem.
I think the problems exist today, and the ratables that will come off these projects, which I think we demonstrated will be more than the costs, will help offset those things the same
But
way.
has there been any study? I mean, you're saying that what you're saying is these units won't, we have enough infrastructure. That's what, am I misunderstanding you?
We confirm that the water and sewer system is sufficient to accommodate these projects. And other than that, I'm not sure what the infrastructure is you're referring to.
Well, we know that the 8th Avenue line going up to the pumping station up on 8th Avenue.
I mean, I agree with yours.
Me too.
My mic is, okay.
No, it's accurate that there are existing infrastructure needs throughout the town. But those exist regardless of these projects.
Correct.
And they would have to be dealt with regardless of these projects.
Correct,
Right.
but won't this, in reality, increase the situation that we have? And by this situation with this, the courts, we could have negotiated with the developers to pay into some infrastructure improvements. We know, we have lost the ability to do that.
We
Is
didn't have
correct?
that choice.
We lost that ability.
We never had it.
What do you mean we never had it?
I don't understand. The court wasn't going to allow us to.
That's what I'm saying. Once this went into our lawsuit.
All right, you're suggesting if we allowed the much bigger project? Sure. If we allowed the 250 units.
Before all of this, before this,
Yeah, if we-
when they were being negotiated prior to all of this.
The non-affordable housing projects with no affordable housing.
Correct.
Yes.
They
You could
wanted-
get infrastructure money instead of affordable housing, but that was not a reality. That was never happening.
Well, okay. And then what about what's gonna happen with our police costs?
So
And we
that's
can-
part of the analysis where we do a fiscal impact analysis and we conclude that in these studies you'll see that when we figure out the cost, fiscal impact, it's anything that may go to the operating budget of the municipality.
Okay, so when is that report?
It's done. You have to be on Wednesday tomorrow.
Okay, so it's gonna be online tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
All right, that's interesting, okay. Now, my other thing is about, you guys came on last year, right? And so how much money have we, the borough, the taxpayers, paid so your company as of now? For just where we're at right now? Do
I don't know,
have a number?
we have to compute that number, yes.
So I think according to, up to March, there was some Oprah requests and everything. Up until March, what I understand, and maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm open to that being corrected. We've spent $600,000 so far from March. Yeah, up to March of this past year. $600,000 so far that we, the taxpayers, have been paying into this situation. So now if we want to add on to that from March, and how much longer, what is our foreseeable future in needing your company and all of you professional people, and this is all going to be paid for by the taxpayer?
Well, let me answer that. We will have redevelopment attorneys on board every year, okay? They don't go away, okay, because there's constantly redevelopment or affordable housing issues. So that is a cost that the municipality must bear and has borne for the last 20 or 30 years, okay? So it's money well spent. We have one of the finest firms in New Jersey representing us, and when it comes to legal services, you don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish. All right, so I can attest that the residents are getting every dollar's worth of the money that we're paying for these attorneys. Okay, and there is no alternative.
So in other words, we don't know what it's costing us at this point.
I didn't say that.
Well,
We know exactly what it's costing
well,
us.
how much is it costing us?
Well, you just said it was 600,000. I just said
Well,
I need time to go back. You can figure it out to the penny.
That would be
But I
great.
can't do that right now.
Okay, well, that would be wonderful then.
Thank
if
you.
could do that and put that online so that we, the
We
taxpayers.
definitely will.
Thank you.
It's all online now, if you look at the bills. So every bill that's paid by the borough is online. So,
Yes, but as our mayor and as people coming through this information, it would be wonderful if this information was told to us so that we
yeah, we
understand.
will. We will. We
It
just
would've
don't
been
have the
nice if it
ability
was
to run a
told.
spreadsheet while I'm sitting here to
Yes,
tell you the
but-
totals.
But Mayor,
Right.
you could have thought about this before. You
Oh,
presented
I
all
could have
this
thought of a
information.
lot of things before.
I know,
And
and I
didn't.
know, and you haven't. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ann Noble, 219 South Lake Drive, Goose Territory. Can I switch topics? I'm sure you can. Just a quick question. To the extent that you're able, could you give us a sense of timing on some of the things that you discussed up here? And can you tell us whether or not all of them are entirely dependent on that grant money, or can some be done without it?
This is Silver Lake.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a civil, we should really. Yeah, why don't we hold off on the civil lake questions until the open comment period at the end. This is just for, redevelopment issues.
Just a couple of things. I'd like to compliment you, sir, on your expertise in gathering up all the data. I'd like to compliment everybody here for being polite and listening to this. About the school, what about the idea, now, when these people come in, especially the people that can't afford to live here, and they'll be sending their children to the school. What about the idea of shutting the school down and sending them to Asbury Park? The school is failing now, so what the hell? More children in there will make it fail worse. They lie to us with the statistics, so, or they try to trick us. Maybe lie is a tough word. But thank you for that gibberish. How long did you speak? You know?
Excuse me, do you have a question?
What about the schools? How much is that gonna cost?
We're not going to make a decision on the schools because it's not our decision. You'd have to approach the Board of Education and propose that they close down.
That's a good, but, Mr. Mayor, that's a good joke. Down at Point Pleasant, they have a comedy club. It's got your name on it.
I'm going to ask you to sit, please. Any other comments?
Angela Pfeiffer, Fifth Avenue. Rough count, we're looking at about 400 or some odd more units. Was that, I was trying to do the math on that.
405.
405. And we don't know the breakdown between one bedroom, two bedroom, three bedroom?
No, we do. We do. So, for example, in the Repetti project, they have 88 one-bedrooms, 22 one-bedrooms with a den, 45 two-bedrooms, 9 two-bedrooms with a den, and 14 three-bedrooms. And then for the affordable, Markville, but these are all online. These you can look at.
So what I'm trying to figure out is in terms of the increase in population to the town.
Right.
If we've got 400 units, okay, we've got at least 400 bedrooms, people to a bedroom, that's 800. Okay, and then there's a two-bedroom, we're gonna add another 200 people. So our population could be increasing by about 1,000?
No.
More?
No, Francie's doing the math for you right now.
So-
There's all some studies about that.
And so I can speak to that.
Oh, thanks.
So between the three projects, Mark Built is estimated to generate 322 new residents. The Repetti project is estimated to produce 393 new residents. And the Sackman project is estimated to produce 123. So the total is 838.
I was
Based
close
on our
to
projections.
1,000.
Yes, you were.
Okay. Population of Belmar right now is about 5,000. Correct. So we're increasing our population by 20%.
Close, yeah, 15-ish.
And for this, we're getting 97 affordable housing units?
Yeah, 99.
Okay.
Well, we're counting some that we already have, so it's
And-
less.
And it's costing us, in addition to legal fees, the additional infrastructure. Did anybody think about a more economical way to create 97 units and not increase our population by 20%?
There's nowhere to put 97 affordable housing units by themselves.
Why not?
There's no land.
Well, we're building 400 new units,
Well, the
so
property-
there's land somewhere.
Well, we don't own it, do we?
Oh, you can buy it.
For what
So
we're
I can
spending.
assure you that if we did a standalone affordable housing, we'd be having a conversation now about a big bond issue to pay for it, and we'd be giving the land away for free. And I don't think that would go over, and we wouldn't have significant ratables. Right now, the math is, these projects will produce more ratables than they provided services. There'll be a net economic benefit. In the math you're describing to me now, a 100% affordable housing project, a couple things happen. One, we give them the land for free, which we don't have. So we can buy land from somebody and then give it to them for free, and we have to bond for that. And then there won't be enough money to build the project, so I'll have to write them another check, which we'll bond for. So in Verona, I think you borrowed $15 million or something to do a standalone affordable and gave them free land. So the standalone projects are extraordinarily expensive because they can't pay for themselves without huge subsidies in the form of free land. So since we don't have the land, we gotta buy the land. So we might have to pay Repetti, I don't know, call it $10 million to buy his land, probably more. And then we have to give him another check to build everything. And all that money is gonna come out of your taxes going forward. And the rate will be tiny, right? Because they're affordable and they don't pay the pilot will be lower than the one up there, and they already don't have any revenue. So that will be a huge financial drag on Belmar, whereas these projects will be a huge financial benefit. They would, that's the math, I assure you.
Okay. We can agree to disagree on that.
I guess.
Okay. So, my next question. Will all of these units be condos, or will some of them be rentals?
Markville is condos and rentals, and the other two are rentals.
So,
Three, mostly rentals.
of the 400 and some odd units, how many of them are condos?
So there are 115 for sale condo units.
So most of them are rentals.
Right.
Do we have any input in getting more condos versus rentals?
No, and they're just harder for affordable families.
Okay.
They just are.
But there's some benefit to having affordable
No, I mean, if
purchases.
we were thrilled with the Markville project because it has so many condos.
Okay.
There's only so much we can do in terms of requiring the property owner to build condos.
But there's benefits to the people that are eligible, because now they can build equity as opposed to just paying rent and throwing their money away every month, so.
I don't know a lot about the math, but I think there's limits on how much you can resell your project for.
Right, but they're still building equity.
Yeah.
So that's.
They need a deposit, it usually has a condo fee, it's complicated.
So if we
But
have.
anyway, we didn't have a choice.
But we don't have any input,
We did not.
is what you're saying?
Yeah, we don't.
Okay, so we can't do anything
We
about
couldn't
that
do anything about that, no.
either.
No, correct. Yeah, there's only so many things we could control. We controlled what we could.
I get it. It just seems increasing our population by 1,000 people. And I know you're saying that we can't use our need for infrastructure, but our infrastructure is going to suffer. I mean, we're having issues with it now. This is a big inflow.
I guess the point I'm probably not making is well enough, is the additional, so we showed you that there'd be more ratables than there are expenses for your, so that chunk of money arguably could be used to fund capital, right? The additional money, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for years, could support a bond issue to fund capital. So there is a way to use the excess rateables coming off this project that are not needed to fund the school or the municipality to do the infrastructure you're talking. These projects will produce more money to the town than they require in services. That more money can be used for capital, it can be used to offset tax increases that otherwise have to be paid. So because they're a net positive, meaning off those projects, more money comes in demanding services, that money can be used for a capital fund ordinance to make the capital improvements you're talking about. And we can show you how that works. It's not that hard.
Assuming the additional expenses come in where we're projecting,
Yeah.
and we don't necessarily know if
And
that's.
assuming the revenues come in where we, all those things, yes.
Right. I mean,
It's always an assumption.
the additional road and the wear of traffic and the wear and tear on the roads, and I mean, our pothole situation now is not great.
But there is, again, there's the benefits to the store, the retail stores, the restaurants, the main, right, it's not all bad, right, that's all I'm trying to say, there's plenty, having those additional people in the downtown. Having those additional people in the downtown.
One last question. Do we know if any of these units will be allowed to be rented out seasonally?
I mean, I don't know why they would do that.
Why would they do that?
Do you know how much money you can get for rentals in Belmar in the summer?
I know that, but why not rent it the whole year? Why leave it empty?
Because they can make a lot more money renting it out.
I've had discussions with, I've had discussions with our borough council about rentals and looking at that moving forward. I mean, I think the question and the opinion that I want to get from Mr. Baumann is just to give everybody an idea. When do you think the first shovel will be in the ground for these projects?
Yeah, so the Board of Ed asked me the same question. I told them you should assume that it's a year to get through financing, 2 years to build it, so call it 3 years before the first resident walks in. They're all not gonna happen at the same time. So my estimate for him was 5 to 10 years to get it all done. Maybe quicker, 4 to 8.
5 to 10 years.
It's gonna take a long time. First, you can't absorb all those units, right? It takes a long, there's not, to your point, there's not 1,000 people that can move to Belmar tomorrow, even if they're ready. So all these developers gotta deal with getting through the permitting process. They still have to raise the money. But
Yeah, my
So I'm kind of starting to say, so the Board of Ed asked us the same question, and so you should assume that it's going to take them 6 months to a year to get all through the approvals, get their financing in place, and close on the financing, and then it's going to take 24 months to build or more, right? So you're 3 years out for that, and then they're all not going to happen at the same time. And then once they're built, you don't absorb. It takes you a long time to absorb. It takes you a couple of years to sell out the condos. So I was giving them an estimate of anywhere between, all done, 8 years. It's going to be a long time. That's a long time.
Was there, for any of these units, was there any thought to having a section that was age restricted, which would pretty much guarantee that the school population wouldn't increase?
Yeah, we talked about that. It got no traction.
From the builder?
Yeah.
Okay. But Mr. Mayor, you said we can have some input as to whether or not they can rent these things seasonally?
No, I didn't say that. I said I'm talking to our borough council to start to anticipate the possibility that, seasonal rentals might occur, because we don't want to recreate a problem that we had with single-family homes in residential. And there, we need to do some research on the limits of what the borough can do in a multifamily dwelling, and we're just at the start of that. And that's why I bring up the amount of time it's going to take for these things to move forward. I mean, we have time to do that. And it's the same thing that I would say about the infrastructure. I mean, we already have plans to improve, water and sewer in certain areas, but it's not something that's going to be done in 1 year, or 2 years. So, we have the plan. I think by the time we see a building actually being constructed, I'm hopeful that you know, the infrastructure will be improved quite a bit up to that point. So, you know, if it was gonna happen tomorrow, I would agree. You know, like, oh, we're not, you know, we have to do something. But we have plenty of time, and, you know, all the infrastructure projects cost so much money, and we need to, you know, spread that out over years, because we don't want to do massive borrowing all at once. You know, you kind of want to just, you know, do it as you can, and legally, we can only borrow so much money at a time. So we do have plans for improving the infrastructure, but it's a step-by-step approach. And I think it'll work out, hopefully, well with the construction of these new developments, because they're gonna take at least, I'll say, 5 years before you see anybody really building anything.
The other good thing that we have in Belmar is we have some history, so we have 170 multifamily units in town already.
We could probably find out how many of those are being seasonal. What was pretty revealing to us, for example, is of those 170 multifamily units, there's one child. All 170, one child coming out of that from K to 8. So if you just were to extrapolate that to this project, we're expecting like 45 or something. It wouldn't even be close to that if we relied on Belmar history with existing multifamily projects. Again, one out of 170 units. We could probably find out easy enough how many of those are doing seasonal rentals. I suspect not a lot, but we have already real life existing projects that would tell us what are the likelihood of seasonal rentals, because it's clearly not likely that there'll be school children.
Okay, thank you very much.
Andrew, I just want to add one point to that too. I know you mentioned like traffic is going to be bad in these things, right? Infrastructure is already suffering. The reason we're doing this, you know, I don't want another 4-story building there, but what I really don't want is another 21-story building, right? That's the whole purpose of this, is try to make sure that we have control over what's going to be put in. If we do nothing, then we have no control.
I get that, and I understand our obligation, I really do, which is why I said, you know, is there I get that we need to do the 99 units.
My phone's not on.
I don't know, I'm trying.
Feel your pain.
I'm 100% in agreement that we need the 99 units. It's not about that. I guess I was saying if we thought outside the box somehow, okay, instead of 400 units, is there a way to build 99 units? I don't know. I don't know, but if there's a way to get that property somehow, I mean, there does seem to be some property that, you know, towns do buy properties. You know, Bradley Beach bought the church, and
I guess the question there is, was there ever a way with developers owning these properties for no building to go up on any of them?
Well, we could buy the property, which they would charge us the price of a market rate,
Right, full of that, and then we could build our own project, which we had the funds, so. But they weren't even offering that, but again, you know, not really. We did an inventory of municipally owned land to see what we could fit. We have the property back here. It's very small, it didn't fit many units. Most of the tax incentives to do 100% affordable, which we've done plenty of, really require you to get a bigger project like the 99 but there's no way you could fit 99 units on that parcel of property back there without going into steel construction, and it didn't make any economic sense. Someone told me that there was a plan once to knock this building down and do the whole thing. That would be enormously expensive, because you have to replace this too, but, so when we did explore other properties as possible solutions, we just couldn't identify one that was making any economic sense.
One last question, I promise. You can't always believe what you read, but I don't know why my mind
I did read that some of the projects that have already been completed were supposed to have affordable housing in them, and they did not.
So there was.
Is that true?
Yeah, there's 3 projects that are supposed to have 12, and we couldn't find any evidence of that, so we sent them a letter saying you're supposed to have 12, you don't have 12. Fair Share, this is part of the reason we discovered this, said to us, you can't count those 12 because they haven't complied with the law. Since that time, we've engaged with the property owner's lawyer, and he's been very helpful in trying to, well, first place he said that they are affordable, but they're only medium income, so they don't have low income, so they don't necessarily comply, and they haven't really done the paperwork, but they've expressed a willingness to work with us to fix it. So it's not entirely true that they have no affordable, they have it, they aren't just compliant with the regulations, and they're working, you know, with us. I'm meeting with them tomorrow fix that, and in the meantime, Fair Share has said we can count those 12. So,
Okay, so those were the 12 that you were referring to?
yeah, so that
Okay.
12 there's a solution to solving that problem. And again, the property owner and the lawyer are working with us to fix that.
Thank you very much.
I think Councilwoman Donovan made an excellent point, though. If we did not have affordable housing issues, if we did not have affordable housing at all, these 4 developments would still be built. Okay, and you would still have somewhere in the order of 300 or 400, new units. I mean, there's no way that the borough could purchase these properties to prohibit any further development. These were all things that are in the works, and it is very likely that they wouldn't have built anyway, and may have had more units than we have now. So please keep that in mind. It's not something that affordable housing is driving. It's just it would have been there anyway.
Yeah, and if I could just add to that, I mean, if that's okay, right, these developers had these properties for years talking about this for years. So we knew things were coming a long time ago, before any of us were out here. So it's been a long road with them.
Off the street.
Let's get wired microphones.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Hello. Jim DiOrio, 8th Avenue. On the affordable housing units, the 90 or so, I would assume legally those people couldn't sublet those units?
Correct. They will be deed restricted, and the individuals who go into those units have to be qualified, and you will have an administrative agent that will oversee and do annual interviews, make sure that the people are still there.
So that's about 20% would not be able to be rented all season?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Anne Marie Drazanovich, 11th Avenue. Okay, so there are no restrictions on the market rate rentals, right, such as subletting. Those rental units will be able to be sublet.
Well, I'm sure that the landlord will have restrictions. There's no municipal restrictions, but the
There's nothing
landlord.
that was negotiated as part of this.
No, they're gonna have their own. They're not gonna let them sublet, basically. Have you ever seen a luxury apartment building that lets you sublet? It doesn't,
Airbnb, yes. There's, just go on Airbnb and look for Belmar, you'll see a lot.
But I'm talking about these
there.
sort of
I'm sorry, I don't want to like keep, it's late, I know everyone's tired, I'm tired, I want to go home too. Parking, I know there's a New Jersey state statute about EV charging stations and that builders can get parking credits. I saw that written into one of these resolutions for one of these properties, right? So they're not meeting their parking obligation, and then if they install charging stations, they can get credits. EV charging stations, they can get some kind of a parking credit, so that additionally they're found like not in violation, say, of a borough ordinance, even if they do go to the planning board or something, right? Yeah, so.
And I think our ordinance also didn't require parking for affordable housing units at all, which we didn't think was right, is that?
Yep, yeah, shared said you have to change that.
Yeah, so our current ordinance says you don't have parking for affordable housing units. I don't know, we didn't think that was a good idea.
No, that doesn't seem like a good idea. I wanted to ask briefly, or just raise the issue about retail. It sounds like there's a lot of retail space that's coming with all this construction as well. Like square footage, it sounds like a lot. I mean, retail in town now seems to be doing very well, but I mean, has there been a study about how this retail can actually, will it actually flourish? Because to me, some of that space, that first floor space, that could have been parking space, rather than retail, if we're kind of overloaded with retail. So I just wanted to say that, if any of your studies looked at any of the retail that we currently have, and to see that, the community could actually support all this new retail space, I'd just be interested to hear that.
Yeah, the one thing.
I've actually been doing some time trying to recruit businesses that wouldn't be competing with existing businesses and entice them to come into Belmar. So that's an ongoing conversation we've been having as a governing body.
Well, you'll have to do a lot more of it. You'll have to do a lot more of that if we get all this additional retail space.
So if you see the before and afters, the final version is less retail in every project.
To me, that's something that we should look at with the planning ordinances, or the master plan, if we're kind of tapped out with retail space, then maybe that needs to really be examined as part of the master plan.
We shouldn't forget though that we're gonna have approximately 800 more residents who are gonna be living along Main Street. So hopefully that will boost all the retail in the area. Because they need
There's
some
still
places
lots of
to
people
go.
using Amazon okay. So I think you mentioned the next round of affordable housing, that's gonna be coming up apparently. So, and that the 99, right? You said we have 96 units that were required right now. Now we're gonna have 99, that will go towards this next round. So this is, you're saying, an ongoing project,
Oh, yeah.
I'll say,
Yeah.
right? That we will always be forced to figure out where we're going to insert additional affordable housing units into every
Yeah.
construction
Every
project.
municipality in New Jersey,
Right, and each round covers generally 10 years. We are doing the third round right now, which ends July 1st, 2025.
Right.
The fourth round begins right after that. The DCA is calculating numbers now, and they are due out in October of this year, of what the proposed obligation is for each municipality in the fourth round. But the fourth round will cover 10 years.
I'm sure it is, and again, I just wanna kind of get to what I wanted to say. It feels like, we still have the corner of 12th and Main that is an eyesore. We don't know if we're going to now pursue it as a public safety building, or if you're gonna try to sell it. I could imagine a high-rise or a 4-story or whatever going there for the next round. The radio station building down, going toward the Avon Bridge, right? That's for sale. There's pockets. Everything becomes a target with this next round coming up. So, I think, again, this opens up a lot of unexpected, I think, and as much as all the benefits are, sir, that you've talked about and that you've tried to present here, the Mount Laurel decision talked about sound planning. And this, what has evolved is, in my opinion, not that. And, not, like I said, I don't want to argue. I just wanted to, put that out there. It's become like a racket for the taxpayers in the towns to have to, constantly support all of this and just keep funneling all this money here. So then I guess the last question I have, and I'll leave it how much you want to address it, is just there's a project, right, that was not permitted to intervene. And, it seems like, well, if this was such a great deal, why wouldn't we have taken the advantage of getting that project in there? So maybe you could address that briefly. Thank you.
Well, we did not address it. No.
So you're not gonna,
Did that in 4 words.
sir, just an explanation. No, it is an explanation.
Yeah.
Is it waiting for the next round, or?
Well, first, they asked for something that was extraordinarily large. 1, 2, we didn't have time, honestly, to try and deal with them and still get this done in a timely manner. So we were, even today, we're racing, literally negotiating it before we arrived. So it was a matter of time, and the size was just way out of proportion. And, we'll have to deal with them eventually, I guess.
Yeah, and they are recognized in the vacant land adjustment.
Yeah.
For the fourth round, and the judge recognized that. She just didn't want to deal with another entity at this late time.
Where did they want to put that?
It's, what's the address?
It's basically across from the a lot that's next to the Belmar Arts Council. I think is it 1 or 2 lots down from the Housing Authority? I can't recall. Yeah. It would be on 7th Avenue on that side.
It's across the street, it's on both sides of the street too. It was a weird project.
Well, those mics keep going out. Any other questions, comments?
Good evening, Jay McDermott, 515 Sixth. Quick question from a zoning perspective. Will there be any zoning changes?
Yeah, we're gonna have to amend the redevelopment plan for these particular properties, yeah.
So are they all part of the Seaport Redevelopment District, or they're outside of it?
All but 613 is not, but I think our intention is to repeal the South Florida redevelopment plan entirely and just have individual plans for these 3 projects, then that'll be the end of our redevelopment plan experience.
So how will that not be considered spot zoning?
Well, it's a part of the settlement, and these are already in redevelopment areas, except for 613. Yeah.
So we just got to be careful that it's not considered spot
It's
zoning?
not, it's because it's a settlement of a lawsuit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Exception.
Anyone else?
Actually, I would actually just like to, if you don't mind, I would like to ask a question.
Sure.
So when we talked about subletting, in the calculation of how many residents would be coming in, are we assuming that everyone who rents a unit will be a full-time resident in that calculation?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. There's hope. And last, I want to ask this, and I want to be very, very explicit about this, because I came into this late, but what happens if we vote no?
Yeah, so if we vote, 1, 2, 3.
If we vote no, here we go, then there'll be a trial, and the court will ultimately decide what it permits or not permit on the site. So all bets will be off. They'll submit a case in their petty case for 444 units. We'll have to defend it, and the judge will decide. And then when the judge decides, there will be no other input.
So how likely would it be if the judge was deciding that we would wind up with larger or less advantageous units than the ones we're looking at?
We're confident our situation will be substantially worse.
Can you say that again?
There we go. Sorry. We're confident that if we don't settle, the resulting projects will be substantially larger and more deleterious on the municipality. It'll be substantially worse.
And I can tell you as a fact that council, who represents the other developers, have made that abundantly clear during the proceedings, that if we don't move forward, everything's on the table and they start larger.
And Fair Share will want 20% on each project.
Correct.
And there will be no contribution to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
So in other words, if we vote no, the chances are high that we would be looking at larger units with more affordable units in each building.
Yes, not including the substantial, we talked about expenses.
The legal and planning and other expenses associated with special, extra witnesses will be substantially higher than what you've already spent. So it would also be a huge economic cost going forward to defend all those lawsuits.
And so our votes tonight are essentially between these projects or worse projects.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much. I think we'll just take a second to regroup and get our people back to the table, and then we'll proceed with the agenda. Ready? The next item is petitions. Do you have any petitions?
Yes, I received the petition presented by Johanna Roper Robinson. It was a petition of 32 signatures urging the mayor and council to work with DEP to bring back the 3rd Avenue bathroom. Next is approval of minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the July 9th meeting minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Rosacusco?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rodinero?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Okay, next is reports of council.
Councilwoman Donovan?
Believe it or not, there's more environmental commission stuff. I just want to report that we discussed at the last meeting, the continuing creation of our environmental resource inventory. And the thing I want to note to you guys is that now we have an agreement with the planning board that they will include the inventory within their master plan. So that's really great news and great work by the BEC. And we are working with the landscaper for a date in the fall for a sustainable gardening practices seminar. So be on the lookout for that. Oyster catchers have hatched on the beach on 6th Avenue. They're adorable, you can go see them, and I want to underscore that they are a protected species, and so it would be a shame if anything was built around there. The last tourism commission meeting, we formally voted to promote the idea here that we should be doing two sets of projects. One is to include in the Piano Plaza project sunshades. So like beautiful white sails that would provide shade and make Piano Plaza much more beautiful and a better place to hang out without just standing in the middle of a sunny brick desert. So we are going to be working forward with the VA on that. We also voted to recommend that we buy kiosks. This would hopefully come out of the tourism fund, and what we recommended would be one at Piano Plaza, one over at the marina. That would include a constant updated inventory of all of our restaurants and stores, along with maps and contact information if the owners so chose to participate. Look out for updates on that. Thank you. Oh, and of course, if anyone is interested, we have the full Movies on the Beach and the concerts at Piano Plaza still happening, and you can find more information on that online on our social media or on our website. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman McKinney.
Thank you, Mayor. Recreation update, the summer camp. The ADA committee worked with the summer campers a couple of Fridays ago. We did a workshop on presenting kids with disabilities and how to, be sensitive to kids with disabilities. And there was multiple stations set up for summer campers. They had a blast, so it was a really good time. All the kids loved it. Summer camp had their sailing camp this week, and the kids were able to do sailing, got to sit on the kayaks, stand up paddle boards, and go crabbing off the dock, so that was fun. The Belmar Junior Lifeguard Tournament was held last Thursday. We had almost 500 kids registered for the Belmar Junior Guard Tournament, which was awesome. Distance runs, swimming, paddle relays, beach flags. Teams from Avon, Manasquan, Spring Lake, Long Branch, Surf City, and Deal all participated and collected a wonderful job. Soccer sign-ups are still happening. Season's going to start September. First game is first Manasquan Rec. And then fall tennis sign-ups are starting now also. Another thing, on behalf of the ADA committee, we were able to accept another beach wheelchair up on the beach. This was donated to us by the Desatnik Foundation, who raises money for people with spinal cord injuries. And this was a very generous donation. They gave a beach wheelchair to Seagirt, Spring Lake, and we were lucky to receive one too. So this makes 11 beach wheelchairs that we now have up on our beaches. Pretty much every other beach we have one. Shade Tree Committee, there were several Main Street trees that need to be replaced because they're not making it. Also, there was a tree donated by the Women's Club to the library that's dying, so we have to replace that one too with the permission of the Women's Club. So we will be working on that. Only one thing around the schools, St. Rose Grammar School's got a brand new principal, and they've signed a new contract with a brand new security system at the grammar school. So that's gonna allow for new visitor management that provides heightened security for teachers, students, and in emergency situations. So that's always good. Skate park update, we are able to register as a 501c3. So we are officially a 501c3 to take donations, and they will be selling snacks at Movies on the Beach tomorrow, provided it doesn't rain. And then lastly, Danny White and the Beach Music Rock Band kids, my son, will be playing in Piano Plaza this Friday night. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rondenaro.
Thank you,
5 minute
Mayor.
limit.
Sorry. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilwoman Donovan and the Belmar Environmental Commission and the Silver Lake Subcommittee for all of your hard work. You're a very hardworking committee, and we appreciate it, and I hope we can implement the full plan that's recommended by you all. I just wanted to provide an update from our motion last week to look into options for the 3rd Avenue Boardwalk bathroom. Our borough engineer, Jim Orris, has written and spoken to DEP to update them on the progress Belmar's making by completing the permanent bathroom in the Taylor Pavilion, our boardwalk preservation grant that will be used to build new permanent bathroom in Comfort Station 16th, and our request for a trailer on 3rd Avenue. As the lack of the bathroom is overwhelming and has become a public health issue. I was told that we should hear something back next week, so fingers crossed. Belmar Public Library, please note that all fitness classes will be canceled next week, July 29th through August 2nd, due to the gym being used for basketball camp. Also, this Friday's Tai Chi class will be held at the Taylor Pavilion instead of the gym. If you're a super fan of Journey, the 1980s group, there's going to be an author time event for you. August 10th at 11 a.m. at the library, author David Hamilton Goland will be presenting his new book, Livin' Just to Find Emotion, Journey and the Story of American Rock, the inside story, rise and fall of Journey. So register to attend online. The next Belmar Housing Authority meeting is August 5th at 5:15. I don't have any further updates on that as I'm awaiting callbacks from Executive Director Paul DeSantis. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President Levis.
I'll be very brief. I just want to thank Councilwoman Donovan for that presentation. I know it looks like it was an afterthought after everything that was going on, but I thought that was really important. That's more than we've seen in a long time for any restoration of the lake, because that's direly needed. And I'm really thankful for the Environmental Commission for the efforts that you guys have put in to give us a real solution that is long-term and sustainable and not just sort of, putting out fires. I think that's really impressive, and I'm thankful for doing that.
Thank you.
That's all great.
We'd also like to thank the Environmental Commission for their efforts. I mean, it's been phenomenal. If you look back in terms of what the borough has done in the past 5, 10, 15 years with regard to the lake, this is really way beyond, I think, what anyone could have ever anticipated, and the lake needs it. So thank you again. Saying that, I have no other things to talk about, but we're going to go into the public session for the resolutions, and this will be the public session for all the resolutions, right? The consent resolutions.
Can I ask about the lake? Can I ask about the lake too, or is that the lake, or are we waiting? Oh, there's no lake.
The lake will be at the end of the meeting.
Mayor, we could just do one action before we go into public session on the resolutions.
All right, I'll let you do that.
We have one resolution to add to the agenda. It would be Resolution 2024-159. This is the last resolution for the settlement agreements that we spoke about earlier. It would be resolution authorizing the approval, execution, and submission to the court of the proposed settlement agreement with Russo Development in furtherance of compliance with the Borough of Belmar's affordable housing obligations in the borough's pending declaratory judgment action. So if I could have a motion just to add that resolution to the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, now we can go to public session on just the resolutions. Please remember to state your name and address first.
Good evening, Johanna Roper Robinson, 406 9th Avenue. I just wanted to thank you for moving forward with requesting the DEP permission to look into the 3rd Avenue bathrooms. I did create and forwarded you a survey and petition with regards to it, and there was feedback from the residents in favor, and they gave comments in regards to that in favor, and if there were any suggestions that they wanted to make. If this isn't possible, they would be interested if there was another option in regards to the Third Avenue path. So with that, if anybody had any questions or wanted to get in contact with me, feel free to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to close the public session?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, does someone?
Oh, I'm sorry.
We want to talk about the lake. Oh,
that's still okay.
This one's just resolution. Just resolutions.
Jerry, make the resolution? I'm sorry, I missed who made the motion in the second.
I made the motion.
Thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the resolutions as listed on the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, Councilwoman Kinney? Or sorry, Councilwoman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Lopez-Fesco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondanero?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Okay, next we're gonna do the, 4 settlement resolutions individually. So resolution 2024-156, Councilwoman Kinney, you're gonna recuse yourself? This is a resolution authorizing the approval, execution, and submission to the court of the proposed settlement agreement with Mark Built Properties LLC. Can I have a motion to approve this resolution?
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Donovan?
Yes.
Mayor Buckle-Fusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondanero?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Okay, next is resolution 2024-157, resolution authorizing the approval, execution, and submission to the court of the proposed settlement agreement with 613 10th Avenue LLC. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Buckle-Fusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondanero? Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Next is resolution 2024-158, resolution authorizing the approval, execution, and submission to the court of the proposed settlement agreement with 75 Rainey LLC. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, Councilwoman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
No.
Mayor Buckle-Fusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondanero?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
And last one is resolution 2024-159, resolution authorizing the approval, execution, and submission to the court of the proposed settlement agreement with Russo Development. Do we have a motion to adopt?
Motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Buckle-Fusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondanero?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Okay, that's it for resolutions. Next we have ordinances. The first one is second reading and public hearing on ordinance 2024-15, ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 23, garbage and waste. This is just amending the ordinance regarding bulk pickup. I did review the ordinance after speaking with Councilwoman Kinney and Mr. McGill, and there are 2 parts to the ordinance. The first part is just deleting language that was incorrect with current borough policies as far as pickup for bulk items, and then the second section was deleting a paragraph in section, I think it was 23-2.2. We're going to undelete that paragraph. We're going to keep it in the ordinance. So the only change would be to section 23-9.9, which is clarifying that pickup for bulk items is set by the schedule that is prepared by the Public Works and not as it was listed in the ordinance. So this is open for public hearing. If anyone would like to comment on this ordinance, please step forward, state your name and address.
Wait, I'm sorry, just to clarify, you're like the struck through red
is you're not doing that?
Yes, so 23-2.2A, that paragraph we're going to leave in the ordinance. Seeing no comments, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And could I have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
Second.
Councilman Kinney, or sorry, yeah, Councilman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilman Kinney? Yes. Mayor Lopez-Pesco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondadaro?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
The next ordinance is second reading and public hearing on ordinance 2024-16. This is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 16-3, Regulation of Noise, providing for certain exceptions. This is open for public comment. If anyone would like to speak, please step forward, state your name and address. Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to close the public hearing? Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-16.
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Lopez-Pesco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondadaro?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
No.
Okay, so now we're on to the regular public session. And again, just remember to state your name and address before you speak.
I apologize for earlier. I thought we were in the public comment section. So Ann Noble, 219 South Lake Drive. I was just asking, to the extent that you can you give us some sort of sense of timing on some of the work on the lake? And I wanted to know if it's entirely dependent on that $3 million grant, or will some, be able to be done without that grant money, and also just the timing of the grant process itself. When will we find out? So if you could touch on those, thank you.
I don't think Gary Henniger is here anymore, is he? But I want to quote him when he said, "Nothing is real until you have the money."
Cash in the bank.
Right. As far as most of the grants, I believe we won't know until the fall, correct? I'm looking behind you because we have members of the team there. So for some of the major projects like looking over at the pipe, starting some of the landscaping, those type of things, not only would that be in some cases multiple year projects, but we certainly wouldn't be starting it probably this year. The things we can start immediately are things that we've recommended to the borough before, like east mitigation, and other like short-term landscaping items, which I'm happy to answer more questions about.
So the geese mitigation would be sooner rather than later?
I would hope. And that decision doesn't start with, it's not mine to make, unfortunately. Excuse me? We have some of those things in place, but obviously it's not enough. I know our plan was to start again with our volunteer system in August 1, because that molting season is over and they can fly away again. So we would like them to fly away, but we would need the borough to commit as far as doing anything with a dog or drone in the day.
What was the estimated cost for the whole project? Do you have
It depends. There's multiple parts to it. I know we submitted a estimate to Congressman Chris Smith's office for about $3 million total cost of the full project. The likelihood that we get that full amount, we can start right away, is, we would be very lucky, very blessed to do so.
Louise Germanario, 606 North Lake Drive, in Geese Country. So I thought that was a good question about the timing, but is there any other way we could find to fund this? We seem to be able to fund so much in this town that I can't understand why, for even the simple things like the dog or more lasers, or so, I understand it, and I thought the plan was great. It's a very thoughtful, detailed plan, and I appreciate it. What I'd like to see is cost and time like a real project plan that shows, well, we could do these 3 things and they fit into the category of, you know, cleaning the lake, mitigating the geese, and so that we have some sort of like fiscal plan that actually can go against what you have here. Because I don't think we're gonna get any traction. I know I've been asking this question for 2+ years now, and I feel like I'm in exactly the same place, and it looks beautiful, the plan, at least we have one now, but unless you put dates, you know, and time and cost against that, I feel it very difficult to feel real, and for us to monitor it as people who live here to say, oh yeah, I see some progress, you know, in 6 months we did X, and in, you know, 8 months this will happen, and so I really appreciate when we can see something like that. That's my question.
Partially it will be on funding as far as what those spaces will be. We have a rough idea. I didn't get that detailed in the presentation only because I was aware of the time constraints in this particular meeting. That being said, I'm happy to say hold a town hall. We can go into further detail on this and get residents like input into this process.
And funding sources in the short term, even though we would have to wait for some of these other things, if we could figure out how to get some taxpayer dollars. I mean, we all do pay taxes, and so this is something that we'd like to see some priority against and some sort of money to go towards it. As small as it is, something would be helpful.
I agree.
So I appreciate that in the next update to this.
Absolutely.
My second question is, and I sent an email to, I believe, the Township Committee with regards to the bathroom on Fifth. I don't know if anybody's been in there, but the doors, it's a brand new bathroom, and the bathroom looks like it's 100 years old. It's appalling to me that we paid any contractor to put in these types of bathroom stalls that look like the thing that was there on 6 before was nicer looking than the bathroom you have.
I caught that email, and I'm sorry, I did forget to respond to you because I wanted to talk to Business Administrator Kane about that. We discussed it, and I think it's just the stainless steel cleaner, right? Didn't we talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, that, can you hear me? Is this on? Can you hear me? Okay, there we go. Yeah, it was spec'd out like that, and the stainless steel was the best material to go with in that kind of situation. And we discussed this multiple times, Millie and I, and it's just a matter of using stainless steel cleaner and getting fingerprints off. If you would plastics, and the stainless steel just lasts much longer than plastics. We just have to just clean it more regularly.
I've talked to the cleaning people on the boardwalk multiple times. They do not have the cleaning solution that cleans them. And I have stainless steel all over my house. I have had dirty, greasy fingerprints, and I can clean them very easily. There's something wrong with that stainless steel. That product is definitely flawed in some way.
I don't think we have the cleaner down there yet, right? Is that the problem?
I don't know.
Yeah. Yes, we do. We purchase cases of stainless wipes and stainless steel cleaner, so they definitely have material in it.
Okay. I was there the other day. It didn't look any better. Just an FYI. It just, you know, we do pay the taxes, and when I see something like that happen, where we put all this money into something and it looks so hideous, it's mind-boggling that we ended up here in this place. I hope if you build something on Third, it doesn't have the same ridiculous. Well, I think stainless steel is a great product, but there's something wrong with that stainless steel. I don't care what anybody says. There's definitely something wrong with it. All right, I'll stop on that issue. I have one more issue, and that is the roads. And now I hear about the 1,000 more people moving in, or close to 1,000 over some period of time. And I've brought this up also many a time over the course of time. I've heard that there's some sort of plan to fix the roads. I gotta tell you something. You drive up 8. Oh, you drive up 7. I mean, it's like being shaken to. It's ridiculous, and I don't understand how. And I understand it's tied to replacing water mains or sewers or whatever, and that's fine. But again, a plan, a thoughtful plan that says, okay, here, it's gonna take 5 years, 7 years, whatever. I understand things take time. I understand we don't wanna increase the taxes to a ridiculous amount. But again, progress. Is there a plan? And then on the same note, and again, brought this up some time ago, is the 8th Avenue intersection. And I understand, apparently you're waiting for somebody in the state of New Jersey to make some decision. But that intersection, we're adding 1,000 more people. To have that 8th Avenue where you don't have, first of all, why there's parking in front of the beach house is, somebody should just remove those parking spots tomorrow. They are a danger and an obstruction that is beyond belief. You drive up that road on any given day, it's an accident waiting to happen. Nobody who comes to town knows if they're going right, left, straight, and then they're all in the middle, like, it's a nightmare. Those spots should be removed. I don't know if you need like some state person to remove 3 parking spots, but if nothing else, those should be removed. And that should be 3 lanes, a left lane for the left turn, a middle lane to go straight, and a right lane to make a right. This is not rocket science, this is just simple facts, and that's how people try to line up. But unfortunately, most of the people in the summertime don't really know where they're going, and so they're in the left lane, and then a second later, they're cutting across to go in the right lane, and so on and so forth. At least if there was a clear sign, somebody has to make a decision, 500 feet before they get to the traffic light, we'd have a better chance of success. But this has been, again, and I've been told in the past, we're waiting for New Jersey, I don't know what it is, Department of Transportation, I guess, one of these great departments. But really, can we do something to fix that? It's another appalling situation, so I would appreciate the answer to that as well. An update of some sort.
And as far as the road, I'm gonna say, can we put out some of that material that we have on the streets and which ones are gonna be done? And we do have a plan. 8th Avenue is the next, is the #1 street that's gonna be fixed.
Yeah.
Not the whole thing, it's gonna go from Ocean to, I forget where, let me say.
It used to go to Main Street to at least D. That's the,
Ocean to.
in front of your house.
Which is not related.
No,
We do have a plan.
At first I thought you said Ocean to First, and I was like, time.
No.
No, but from Main Street to, I live on North Lake Drive, so from Main Street to the circle there.
Yeah.
It's, ridiculous. And 7th is, by the way, not any better.
Many.
Many others.
Go down Petitions.
So again,
Belmar 5.
We'll talk to Mr. Kane, and we'll see what we can put on the website, so people will know what we have streets prioritized. We know which ones need, water lines, sewer lines, storm drains. I mean, that's all been done, and it's just a matter now of planning out, how we're gonna go forward with that.
and the intersection on
Mayor,
8th.
maybe we can make that a presentation?
The 8th Avenue one, I wish I go through that at least 4 or 5 times. It's, I'm ready to just tell them to put up a sign and let the state tell us to take it down. I mean,
I'm ready to paint the
that's
lines.
fine.
I'll go out there and paint the 3 lanes and
I'm
put the
ready.
arrow.
I would do it with you.
Let's do it. I mean, if we're
And it's a
gonna,
problem because if you stay in the left lane and you're making a turn, now you have to wait for everybody who's coming straight up 8th Avenue. And what happens is you wind up getting 2 lights, 3 lights, and then there's that tendencies to go around. It's a mess.
something really, that should be a priority from a traffic perspective to be, some sort of resolution. And again, if we could at least eliminate those 2 parking spots, because those are just like, I don't understand why anybody was allowed to park there. It just causes more mass
We'll
congestion.
have to look into it.
Come in and do a presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate
That would
it.
be good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Christopher Piccone, 222 17th Avenue. Just wanted to get an update on the piano and Piano Plaza. That riser was built in cooperation with the Belmar Arts Council, but without any consideration for ADA compliance and in violation of, I believe, Part 2 of ADA.
The ADA ramp will be built. It's already designed, and they're making room for it, and it will be constructed.
And will this be coming out of the Arts Council's budget?
No, it'll be coming out of phase 2 of the Piano Plaza project, which will be a big engraved brick paver program. It's gonna pay for all the site work and everything. What happened is we had to redo some of the electric in there because of the light pole, in order to put the ramp in the back and then angle it around to the one side, for access.
Yeah.
the light pole was there, so the light pole had to be moved, the wires had to be moved. We had to have Jersey Central come in, cut the power, did the infrastructure, move the pole and all the wires, and then the contractor's gonna come in, and build the ramp. And then at the same time, there'll be a new piano delivered, because the piano that was delivered, was,
Damaged.
I'm trying to be politically correct. Yeah, it was damaged. They delivered a damaged product, so there's being a new piano shipped from Israel.
Oh, my God.
My
True story. True story.
My other real question is, how did it get to the point where it went through tons of professionals, review, and then it came out during a planning board courtesy review, that it wasn't compliant with ADA?
I don't know if that's really,
Immense amount of.
you know, I think the important thing is it came out and it was dealt with immediately.
Yeah.
That's really the issue.
I agree.
The important issue.
Thank you.
Kevin Maroney, 619 11th Avenue. Also the fire captain and president of Belmar Volunteer Hook and Ladder. Anything I say today is strictly the opinion of either myself or the members under my command at Volunteer Hook and Ladder. We recently had a Board of Fire Officers meeting where we were told that we were getting less money as a fire department than we got last year. Nobody quite understands how that happened. Simply inflation should have gotten some type of an increase. We tend to run out of money every year. We've already exhausted our maintenance budget according to the fire administrator, is what he reported to us, for the fire equipment, which means that all the mandated testing and everything else will be coming out of our operating budget. We've done no department training this year because the budget was not ready for us. The council can't keep asking us, or the town can't keep asking us to do more with less. It comes down to, again, what everybody was saying about, we're gonna put 1,000 more people in here. Fire's mandated, fire service is mandated, and we don't have any confidence that we're gonna have what we need to do it. We have equipment that goes out of service every year because it ages out. It's almost never replaced. Our ladder truck is supposed to have 1,000 feet of 5-inch supply hose. We lost 300 feet over 5 years ago. It's never been replaced, and we've asked for it every year. This just can't continue. Again, these are the opinions of the men under my command, the Volunteer Hook and Ladder, not the fire department as a whole. We hope you guys will do something about it. I want the public to realize that the entire fire department, 50+ people, 6 pieces of apparatus, some of the most complicated pieces of equipment in the entire town, are funded every year for less than some single salaries of employees in this town. We get less than $95,000 for the entire year for everything. That's it.
Mary Lonergan, 109 6th Ave. Again, thank you, Councilwoman Donovan, for your presentation, and just happy to hear it. But the one thing I will say on behalf of, I think a lot of people here may have left by now, the whole geese species thing has to be addressed now. I appreciate it in the plan. I appreciate we have to vote on a dog. In the short run, if we can get DPW to come rake the paths, it is completely, and we've been living here 24 years on Silver Lake. It has never been this disgusting, ever. And I know you all know that, and I'm so thankful we have a plan. It was a terrific plan, but I think similar to what someone else said, if we can put a flag in the ground and say, we will have that dog, we will put the batteries back in the little amber lights, you know, the not mowed lawn, whatever. We can talk about it another time, but whatever you said, the 4 things have to be done. Put a stake in the ground. If we have to go another month of voting, this can't be healthy anymore. It is beyond that now. So at minimum, if the council would consider, I did see a DPW guy one morning come and rake. I did. I don't know why he came, but it was just one and not again. I think it would do a service to the entire town. And the guests that come, this is not just Belmar residents. These are guests from the surrounding towns coming to walk around our lake. So again, thank you. If you could put a date, get that dog in, whatever it takes now, and not delay. Thanks.
What's stopping us from getting a dog right now?
Nothing. I had asked for prices and I'm waiting.
So we are looking into it?
I punted that to the Environmental Commission. If they provide me with information with regard to dogs and other things, we'll then see how much it's gonna cost.
Could our head of DPW just put this out for a bid, or we put it out for bid?
We did that already.
I have something
You know.
lined up if,
So,
excuse me, Mary?
no, he's okay.
Hi, I live next to Mary at 111 6th. It's unbelievable. What's happened is the other towns have eradicated the problem. The problem is now at Silver Lake. There's not 30 or 40, there's 100. Today, I'm eating lunch on my porch, and I chased them out of her yard, and it's unbelievable. This has been known, this problem has been known for a couple of years, and nothing's been done. What I see, can I just recommend a really short term, it doesn't cost anything problem? While I was sitting there eating lunch, I noticed, and I'm not indicating that he should do this job, but the DPW guy who collects, you know, the thing, he went zooming down the pathway, they all took off. So my question is, not them, I don't want anybody to get mad at me, but the parking attendant, he's got one of those little scooters, he comes by the lake every day to check on the thing. Let him go on the path around every hour, once an hour. Maybe it'll discourage him. It doesn't cost any money to do that. That's one idea. Next thing is, I go to the beach a lot. I got melanoma. So I had a tent, it's not a tent, I'm sorry, it's a shelter that you can see through on all sides. And they've let me use it the last couple of years. All of a sudden, I can't use it. They said it's a quality of life issue. Quality of life issue, there's a bird there that they're protecting. They got little houses for the bird and everything. It's very nice, I think it's very nice, but I don't think it's fair. I don't understand it. Whatever's legislature got in those tents, I can get a.
Can I comment on that? I'm in the process of having a meeting with Harry Harrison and then Chief Scott, and we're gonna try to figure out what is gonna be legal and what is not on the beach, because there has been a lot of discrepancy about what's allowable. We had a small little conversation about it. I kind of took it on my own to talk to, Harry Harrison up there, and he's like, yeah, there's definitely a lot of, sometimes cops give tickets or make, recommendations, sometimes they don't. It's inconsistent, so we're working on it.
I asked one officer, they're all very nice. I talked to one of them, he said it's fine. I asked another one, no, you gotta take it down. So it's very inconsistent. Can I recommend one more thing, just from a quality, a big thing that the police officer was talking about, quality of life issue. The lifeguards, get them real, it's from the 1920s, the lifeguard stands. From the 1920s. I go to Florida in the winter, they have beautiful lifeguard stands. What happens is, the guards, when it's really windy, and it's been a really windy winter, summer, they block one side, so now they can't see that side. I'm not blaming them, but they can't see that side. And now they're only seeing one side. And also, it's very difficult to get lifeguards, but if you had really nice lifeguards, I'm sure it would encourage them to come to our town. Thank you for it. And also, thank you very much for the whole Silver Lake thing. I think it's a great idea. Hopefully it'll get implemented sooner than later. Thank you.
Come on up.
Hi, I'm Colleen. I'm speaking on behalf of the Environmental Commission. Do I have to give my address? Yeah, 56 Inlet Terrace. So one of the companies that submitted a proposal back whenever that was the Geese Police, and they serve the entire state of New Jersey. He has 7 teams out on the road. One of the very important things was that all the experts have told us that it's not good enough to just get the geese off the land. You must also get them out of the water. This company utilizes kayaks. They would come 7 days a week, 2 to 3 times a day. We can mandate kind of when they come. So I told them that it was very important that they come at dawn and dusk, and they said they would do that and also come during the day as well. The owner of the company's name is Joe. He did several site visits when, before he submitted the proposal. He said the lake is huge. It's a very big project, and being one of the volunteers that has been out there myself with the laser, I agree. He can come in the dark, and with the he will use lasers as well. He'll come in the dark. He has a spotlight that he would shine on the lake, so he's sure not to disturb other waterfowl. He'll be very careful that he doesn't disturb residents, because we, of course, don't want the lake, a light shining in anybody's houses. This company used to service PPAC Gladstone, who, if anybody's following this story, they've been in the news quite a bit. PPAC Gladstone ran out of money after Hurricane Sandy, and they cut their budget for goose control, and they stopped doing everything. They weren't laying eggs, et cetera, and their population, you know, their goose population increased, and now they're, well, actually, now somebody kidnapped the geese. What? I get Google alerts on these things. So they get the USDA was supposed to come anyway. They can't find the geese. The USDA is trying to euthanize the geese, but they can't find them because.
So you're saying there's a loophole?
This company, they're endorsed by PETA, which I think is good as a tourist community. We don't want the bad publicity euthanizing the geese. That's my opinion. That's not necessarily the opinion of the Environmental Commission. And I understand some of the residents don't share that opinion, which is fine. But we can, I think, one of the important things about a company like this, he's you know, very confident in the work that he does and the product that he'll provide, and they're not working with towns that are also euthanizing. So, you know, how can we say a company is doing an effective job if they're also euthanizing? It just seems like I don't know, not money well spent. So to get the price down, because his initial proposal was, I want to say, in the neighborhood of $30,000. But since we
For how
have,
long?
For the year.
For the year.
yeah,
Is it on?
is it on? Yes. So being out there, so I talked to Ed Livencott, who's one of the volunteers who was out there quite a bit. I wanted the community to know that we have spent, hundreds and hundreds of hours into this, like studying these geese. Like, it's been insane. So we could get this cost down by eliminating a few of these months, like June and July. The geese are molting. We can't be chasing them. They can't fly away. It's a waste of money to do it then. November, December, January, if we're doing a good job in August, September, and October, perhaps we can take those months off, November, December, and January. The important months are February, March, April, May, August, September, and October. This company does the Wall school systems. He does Rumson, Shrewsbury, Red Bank, Fairway Mews. He would check out the Inlet Terrace and First Avenue areas, because we know, and Main Street Bridge too. We know geese were trying to nest in these locations too. So we could get the cost down to about 20 grand. He has dogs.
I'm just asking, did he give you a proposal?
No,
If you get a proposal, just send it over to Mr. Kane and we'll look at it and we'll see what, and obviously our purchasing person, make sure that, you know, we comply with the state contract law and whatever. But I would say that would be the first step.
Would we have
Figure out what you want,
We
figure
do,
out what you want, get him to give you a price, and we'll see if and how it can be done.
we do have a proposal from him. I just negotiated with him and cut it down. So do you want
All of it?
You have to do an RFP.
Send it over, yeah.
All of it?
okay.
We need to make a motion to, we need an RFP.
Yeah.
We can't just hire this one company, we need to have an RFP.
Yeah.
So I would propose
Or
that we issue an RFP. I mean, I would suggest we direct, I don't know, George, if you would be writing that, but I would make a motion that we direct George or Kevin to write an RFP for these removal services.
I think we have one.
Is it out there? Does it expire?
Well,
How does it
can
work?
we review that?
Hmm?
Can we review the RFP, the existing one? I believe it needs to be updated.
Can we renew it?
Review,
Sure.
great.
So, do we have to renew it, and does it expire after a certain time, or do we just
The
put it back out?
The RFP is the best way to go. It's not necessarily the only way to go, okay? Depending on the price that comes in. So why don't we just get the proposal sent to us, and we can take a look at it and see what we want to do.
Okay, thank you.
I'm happy to help in any way, so just let me know.
So the thing is to send the proposal over, okay?
Okay, I didn't get anything in, I just have the old proposal that he sent, so you
Well,
want.
he wants to do the job, right? So just
Absolutely.
have him redo it.
Yeah, have him do a new-
Whatever
a
you
new
agree
one.
to, just have him send it over.
Thank you.
For the annual.
Okay, do we have to make a motion on that? Or like, and have his edits where if you could, you know, shave money off and like fit it all, right?
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Thomas Tell, 14th Avenue, Belmar. Just a thought that I have. My husband and I are volunteers in the Spring Lake Heights Fire Company. And we go past the Spring Lake Heights Elementary School constantly for calls and so forth, events. They have dogs on the land of the Spring Lake Heights Elementary School. They move them around constantly. They don't have any problems with ducks, geese, birds, nothing. They're wooden dogs with have fuzzy tails on them, and they're moved all around that property constantly. Because every time we're riding by, you can see the same dog in a different position. So all the dogs are moved around. That's just something if you want to look at. Look into that, something for temporary before you know, I mean, the young lady's got a great idea. That was the first thing. The other is I'd like to say thank you to April. I contacted April last week. I came into the Borough Hall. Last week, my husband and I were in my vehicle. I was driving. I came down from 13th Avenue to K Street, got to K Street and 14th. I stopped. There's a stop sign. People don't know it's there, but it's there. I stopped. I turned right, put my blinker on, because I was pulling up to back in my driveway. I pulled up across the road, started to back in. This guy came flying down K Street, around 14th. He was so close to the passenger side. My husband and I both looked at each other and said that this guy's gonna hit us. And I finally said to the guy, I said, you know, like put my hand out, like stop. Well, he proceeded to, you know, give me the Jersey salute. I'm like, okay, fine. The next day I went in and I spoke to April. I said to her, I said, you know, thank you. You've got that tree issue taken care of on 16th and L Street. I mentioned to her about the trees that are along the fence line that are near my house, around the townhouses. And now that the wind is blowing, the tops of those trees are going to get close to the wires on my house again. I don't want a fire. And Jersey Central said, it's not my wires, it's the trees. Also, I mentioned to April the situation with this guy flying around the corner, and it's been over a year that we've been saying, can you put another stop sign there? Nobody sees a stop sign on right. Nobody does. I can't tell you how many people have come to my house and they said, you know, you just ran a stop sign. They're like, where is it? I said, it's on the right. Oh, we saw the arrow in front of us that said turn. So I said, well, we should put a stop sign on the left. Maybe they'll see that. And I asked April, can something be done? Can you put something up there? Children at play, whatever. Well, there is a sign when you go down K Street on the left of the two bright arrows telling you to turn, and there's a one-way sign. And on the other pole, thank you, April, there's a sign that says slow, children at play. People aren't stopping, but they're slowing down now. So I just wanted to let you know, thank you for doing that. And I knew if I spoke to April, I was gonna get some kind of results. So that was a very good thing you did. Thank you again. When it comes to the trash pickup in our neighborhood, we have Wednesday and Saturday pickups. Trash men are great. Take the garbage out, they put the cans back by the curb, sometimes on the curb, it depends upon where vehicles are parked. Then you've got Thursday, recycling. It's the same company. The guys take the recycling cans, they dump them into the garbage truck, they drop stuff on the ground, they leave it there. They take the garbage can, they take the recycling cans, which my husband and I stood at the window last week and watched them, threw them like they were throwing a Frisbee. Well, one of them, hit the side of my husband's car, and then it rolled up against the curb. I'm like, the trash guys need to teach the recycling guys some manners. So this is what we're paying for the recycling people that come out, just to throw everything all over the place, and half the time you've got to move the recycling bins that they have down left in the middle of the street. You have to move them so you can get down the street. So if you can look into that, I would deeply appreciate it. The building on 12th and Main, can we make that into a parking garage? That would be a paid parking garage. That would be excellent. Is there any progress with that for anything?
We were just talking about that. The next step is really for it to be raised and clean fill put in, cleaned out, and put clean fill in. That's really the next step.
Especially since, good microphones tonight there. Especially with all the buildings that are gonna be coming in, parking, right now, parking is an issue. Belmar is a resort town. I've been in this town for over 68 years, and it's always been a resort town. And now you're getting more younger youth driving and so forth, and more vehicles. So when you put all these buildings up, you're gonna have more people coming in and then more vehicles. So that's why I was saying that it would be great if someplace in Belmar we had a paid parking garage, we'd make money and we'd get less vehicles all over the place. Thank you.
Tom Dillon, 1000 River Road. This lady just spoke about driving heavy. Let me bring something up. There's a new issue, and that's the electric bikes. This thing is getting a little hairy. Do we have any ordinances? Are they vehicles, or are they bikes? Should they be in the street, or should they be on the sidewalk? Someday, somebody's gonna walk out of the store and get nailed. Guaranteed. Everybody will be all upset and everything, but that person might be dead or whatever. Doesn't matter, it will happen. So, and it's not good in the traffic with the vehicles either. It's far from good. Okay, I said that. Councilman Donovan, about the geese. You go through, we go through this all the time, and you come out with, we're gonna spend money for a dog and this and that, and the other thing, what we're gonna do is, but we're not gonna do what works. And it was done in Spring Lake, it was done in that town in Edgewater, up there in Hudson, and it was another town just recently out west a bit, up north. That's gonna do it. And it's all for nothing. It's for nothing. It's the Department of Agriculture. They come and they euthanize them in the back of a box truck, and that's it. And also, I never knew this. The meat is used somewhere out in Pennsylvania. It is used. So you can kick this thing around all you want about getting dogs and maybe talking to them. To go somewhere else, please. And whatever you want to do. But that's not going to help. 3-4 years, well, I probably will be around. But 3-4 years from now, you'll be talking about another dog. Maybe the other dog got old or hurt itself, and we got sued. And everything. All right, one more thing about this affordable housing. Now, this is New Jersey. We all understand, I guess we all understand it's New Jersey. I consider, I would say, 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the judges in this state are corrupt. Every so often you get one that's on the level, but most of them are corrupt. Our judicial system is rotten from the top to the bottom and everything. So for us to run to court and everything, and seek this, you know, allegiance or whatever you want to call it, of our, you know, how many affordable housing units we have is ridiculous. Because we're always going to say, no, you're going to have this many. The whole concept of affordable housing is un-American. It's anti-American. There is a 10th Amendment that says if it's not mentioned in the Constitution, it's the state's right and everything. And of course, they didn't mention the affordable housing in the Constitution when they put it together. But that is as anti-American as it gets. That's communism. Coming in and telling a town or municipality or company or anybody, they have to do this. You have to take these people that cannot fulfill the obligation, their personal obligation of paying the market rate. That's total malarkey. And to look, it was mentioned here, think out of the box. There's things you can do. One thing I would suggest is that beach is an albatross around our neck. It's an albatross. They keep changing the rules about the bathroom, and we have to say, oh, we have to comply. Just throw it back in their feet and say, we don't have anything to do. We won't hire lifeguards, we won't hire cleanup crews, we won't hire policemen for the tickets. We won't have anything to do with it. We won't you know, level out the beach each day and all that. Just walk away from it. Walk away from it, and it'll hurt us. It'll hurt the people that have all the summer jobs, sure. But in the long run, it will help us because we can turn to the state. They will not want to fight that fight. And we should say, well, let's talk about it as opposed to the affordable housing. And we can knock it down even more. Plus, we can string it out and everything. You'll be helping the people. Think out of the box. Also, another albatross around our neck is that dumb school. They do badly each year, and then they fudge the figures and tell you everything's hunky-dory. It's not. The children are not doing well. We could send them to Asbury Park. And these are just some thoughts. Think out of the box. You're not experienced people. That's your trouble.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I asked for this last year. Are you doing road stuff like on 8th Avenue? I brought that up last year I was here. I live on 6th Avenue. It's the only street that does not have a crosswalk on the residential side. It's the only one. It was there before Sandy. It's not there.
We addressed that once before. There's no entrance on the boardwalk on the other side of 6th Avenue.
Yes, there was. It's Sandy, there was.
But
The reason why they removed it is because the bathroom is there. The bathroom is now gone. You can put the stair. We want a resident. I still don't mind walking straight up and going across I'll go over to the thing. It's on the other side of 6th. But put a residential crosswalk. There's no reason why it's not there. There's none.
We'd have to, I mean, that's a county road. I don't know
Somebody did a great job.
The crosswalk goes into a parking spot.
Get rid of the parking. They weren't there. They were not there. During San, you want a picture? I can say, there was a crosswalk there, and there were stairs there. There was a crosswalk, and there was stairs there.
We'll look into it.
I would like to get it done. I came last year, I'd like to get it done. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Anyone else? Okay.
Can I have a motion to close the public session and adjourn the meeting? Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, if I send you an email tonight, can you send me the resolutions for the settlements in the morning? Thank you. You're the best. Appreciate you. No problem. Thank you. Nice. Positive feedback. I've always appreciated it, right? There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
You thank Chief Scott. Make sure you thank Chief Scott and DPW for putting up the sign.
He took off like a
He said, thank you, he said, she just said thanks to DPW.
Oh, you're welcome, no problem.
They're slowing, they're not stopping.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. All right.
Yeah. We can't go this long.
I was on
the bloody side. Yeah, Dana's on the side, you know, back in my driveway.